Chet. Tuesday. This is the day that I get to spend all day with you folks. I'm very excited to do this today. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Is my mic on? I moved my mic position, and then I wouldn't touch it so much. So let me know how it's if it sounds all right. Happy Tuesday. Not brown. I know. Look, this filter's shitty. I'm sorry. This is a navy blue hat. I don't know what to do about these filters. I have no idea. Maybe if I change the lighting, I can add a little mood. There's a little more blue there. We can make it real dark there. Make me look like I'm real tan. Yeah, I think that's the correct lighting. I apologize. It's navy blue. I promise it's navy blue. Look, I'll even show you the hat. Let me find it here. This hat is one of my favorite hats. I wish I could remember who sent me this hat. I don't think they're around anymore. Whoever it was early on, and we were talking about one of my favorite shows ever, which was Last Chance U, and there was one of the seasons was at Independence Community College, and that's in Kansas, I think, right? And yeah, here's the hat. This is the hat right here. This is the hat that I'm wearing. You can see on the screen, it's clearly navy blue. But when I do the filters, it's not navy blue. So that's the hat that I'm wearing. It's navy blue and yellow. Can't do a lot about that. Sorry. Ain't no way. Yeah, it's too early for this horse hockey. I'm trying to make it crash out. Sorry, that's my bad. Happy International Joke Day, everybody. We'll keep reminding people of this throughout the show today, but it gets fucking heavy covering this shit every day, and I know it's heavy for you guys too. And I think that like we could analyze like YouTube videos or debates. Like I know Candace Owens just debated on Jubilee. We'll probably get some clips of that. But I just feel I feel weird not covering what I think are going to be the most important stories of the day. And the most important stories today, they suck. They suck so bad. And it wears on you. It wears on every aspect of your life. So, in honor of International Joke Day, I'm sure Jen's got some great jokes lined up. I've inserted some jokes of my all-time favorite comedian into the live, and we are going to do this. Anybody today who sends a Venmo, Super Chat, PayPal of $5 or more, including your favorite joke, you will be entered to win a raffle. And at the end of the show today, Jen will figure out. I guess she's going to keep track. I don't know. Or I guess tomorrow. We'll do it tomorrow because then we can pull all the names. Tomorrow we'll announce a winner for National Joke Day. We're gonna Jen, myself, and let's just say Jen and myself. We're gonna pick our favorite joke. We'll probably crowdsource it in the Discord. We'll pick our favorite joke. You know what, Jen? Should we just vote on it at the end today? Do we have a way to do that? This was clearly very well thought out. You
could try. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow. I can hear you. We'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll announce the winner of Best Joke, and that person can have anything from our merch store, whatever you want. You are not colorblind. There is just a filter, and let's see. Let's see. I wonder if I could change the filter to make it more blue. I clearly need an editor. If I change the brightness,
hold your hand.
You said for somebody to hold my hand, as I said.
Or someone to just hold your hand. What kind of filter is it? Just on the?
It's just on. It's just on Streamlabs. It's just the green screen. There we go. That got a little more blue, didn't it? I changed the gamma. Is that more blue? No, that's still.
Is it darker navy blue? Yeah.
It is a dark navy blue. Yeah. What about color spill? About color, I don't know what color spill reduction is. Any idea on that? I can move that up there. Oh, now we're in black and white. Oh, there we go. That's a little more navy. No, that's a little more brown. I don't know how to do this, guys. I apologize. Contrast. What does contrast do? Makes it more brown. Brown and gold. All right, this hat is brown and gold. That's where we're at today. This hat is brown and gold.
We can mess with it later.
Is that stressing you out?
I just no, I'm fine.
All right. Good morning, Jen.
Good morning, sunshine.
Nice to hear from you.
Oh yeah,
Everybody's excited. You want to stay here for my first joke?
sure.
All right. My favorite comedian of all time is a man named Norm Macdonald. And Norm Macdonald had a show for a while, which
When I
is
was 20.
horrific. If you get easily offended, not a show for you. But he had Bob Saget on before the late, great Bob Saget passed away. And Bob Saget had the audacity to try and end Norm Macdonald's show with a serious story. I can't remember who he's talking about. He's talking about one of his friends who he was trying to comfort. And this is why I love Norm Macdonald.
22, and I walked in there and he had lost his son, and he was sitting there and he was having a martini, and I just walked over and I just kind of stood there. I didn't want to bother him, and he was just sitting there, and he looked up, and he was nice, and I just went,
I found your son. That's it. Bob Saget's been our guest.
and I was 22.
Apparently that was about Dean Martin. I love Norm Macdonald so very much. I love him because he just wants to make people he wants people to laugh from shock. R.I.P. Bob Saget, and R.I.P. Norm Macdonald, the greatest comedian ever to live. I don't care what anybody says. Ooh, Casey's going red on the highlighting today. Is Casey mad? Casey highlights the stories that we've covered. We're going red today. Casey brought some attitude.
What did you do? Did you piss her off or something?
Probably. I do that. That's fine.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, so.
I don't know if I've ever seen a tweet in my whole life that has encapsulated all my feelings and truth in one tweet. This is from Ron Filipkowski I saw this morning. And I think this is a good way to kick off the show. Filipkowski says, in the last 24 hours, Trump's threatened Elon Musk, Thomas Massey, Japan, a judge in Israel, the CEO of AT&T, Jerome Powell, Canada, Tom Tillis, a Forbes reporter, Harvard, and migrants with being eaten by Burmese pythons in the Everglades while releasing a new line of cologne. That's what happened yesterday. That's a real recap of what Donald Trump did yesterday. He did all of that in 24 hours. The cologne that we're talking about, this embarrassing little bitch, Donald Trump, goes on True Social. He's the president. He's the president of the United States. He is hawking cologne. Trump fragrances are here. They're called Victory 4547 because they're all about winning strength and success for men and women. Get yourself a bottle, and don't forget to get one for your loved ones. 2, enjoy, have fun, keep winning. Go to gettrumpfragrances.com. It's our president just hawking fragrances online. So that's cool. What do you guys think it smells like? If you had to guess, what do you think it smells like? If it smells like Trump, we know. Like people have told us that he smells like shit. He could also smell like a fillet of fish. Is it $250? Are you out of your goddamn mind? Is that real? Get Trump fragrances. Please don't actually be $250. $250. It's $250. He's got 2. He's got fight. Why do they all make him look shredded too? Like, why are we sitting here pretending that Donald Trump is like an 80-year-old shredded guy? That is insane. But if you buy 2, you save $100. So that's good news. It's the president. That's the president of our country using his office to sling perfume and cologne. That's so cool. Marlene said, I wasn't very hungry, so I just ate a kid's meal at McDonald's. His mother was furious. Marlene, thank you. Starting things off strong. Let's see here. Alex says, I got to read the personalized note there. Why are the best gynecologists deaf? They're already great at reading lips. That's not good. What's the difference between a blind hunter and a constipated owl? One shoots, but can't hit. I don't get that. Did I not get that one? You guys get that one? What's the difference between a blind hunter and a constipated owl? One shoots but can't hit. Am I the only one that doesn't get that? I'm so sorry. I always fuck up people's jokes every time somebody. Yeah, my bad. The big beautiful bill passed. Is that what I just saw? Did it pass? Did it just pass? I had to restart my computer right before we went live. Let's see. Did we need a tie-breaking vote? Did it pass? It did pass? Tied, so we had a tie-breaking vote. JD Vance had to do it. Who voted against it? I'm assuming Rand Paul. Who else voted against it? Yes, JD came through. Shut up. Tillis, Paul, and Collins. Okay, good for you, Collins. What the fuck are you guys? This is what I absolutely can't stand about MAGA. Like, what the fuck are you guys celebrating today? You're just celebrating that it passed. There's a difference between people who care about what's in the legislation and people who care only about Donald Trump. If you're celebrating this bill passing today and you don't happen to be in the 1%, then legitimately you're just celebrating that Donald Trump got something passed. There is absolutely no reason to celebrate this bill for any of you. None of you are getting anything out of this bill. It's not going to make things better. And I'll get to that in a little bit. Let's talk about Charlie Kirk today. Charlie Kirk has posted this today saying tariffs are skyrocketing. This is the monthly numbers, and they've gone up a lot. June is set for another big increase of $27 billion. Of course, we're talking about the tariffs. And this is why, like, Republicans, you shouldn't trust people like Charlie Kirk. You can't trust Republicans because they're celebrating this.
How much we've been collecting in revenues. And I did this in part because Wilfred's here and he can talk about the UK trade deal. But just this is the monthly numbers. And they have gone up a lot. June is actually set for another big increase of $27 billion. That is money coming into U.S. coffers from tariffs. We are collecting a lot of revenue. So far, guys, $121 billion has flowed into the U.S. government since the start of the fiscal year. It's still a tiny portion of the overall revenues that the U.S. government gets, but it's increasingly...
Just going back to the chart there, congratulations. For as long as I lived, this was tariff revenue. And ever since Donald Trump got in office, American taxpayers have had to pay more in taxes, and largely from the middle class. This astronomical jump you see here, that's a tax increase, mostly paid by the middle class. Congratulations. You're literally on the same day that you're celebrating a massive tax cut, the largest tax cut in history for the richest Americans. The same people are celebrating one of the largest tax increases on the middle class. But they say tariff, and you guys are, I guess, I don't know, just too dumb to know that that's a tax? How is it that you're like, he's going to lower taxes? What's this? $22.17 billion in tax increases. And for what reason? We don't have any trade deals, just for the hell of it. Donald Trump and those around him, they know what this is. This is their way to try and offset some of the money that they just gave to billionaires. Just a little bit of it. Everything they're doing right now is just a way to offset the amount of money that they handed out to billionaires. This is our background today, which you'll see over and over again, is reverse Robin Hood. This is class warfare. I can't fucking believe that we still have people in America who are voting for everybody knows this bill is trash. It's I think 60% of Americans oppose it. 60%. This guy won the popular vote. 60% of America says this is a garbage bill. And we're going to get to it today. They could have done something great. Donald Trump will be remembered as somebody who could have done great things and instead gave sold America and sold it to the highest bidder. On top of all this nonsense, we got Donald Trump over in Florida celebrating alligator Alcatraz. And because we're not embarrassing enough, of course, we have to sell fucking merch. And this is paid propagandist Benny Johnson, who's on the payroll of Russia, who's clearly on the payroll of the Trump administration, and who is backed by billionaires. And it is now at Alcatraz promoting merchandise for a concentration camp.
I just want everyone to know that there's official alligator Alcatraz merch. There it is.
By the way, not made in America either. Non-made in America merch that we got done very quickly. And there you go. You got non-made in America merchandise being sold at a fucking concentration camp. God, that's history always said. All historians are always like, you know what I hated about Auschwitz the most? They didn't have merch. Auschwitz didn't have enough merch. We need more merch at these concentration camps. This is a way to get you guys to like celebrate. And what you're gonna see from Republican trolls today and Republican trolls like Benny Johnson is they put on shit like this that's like, oh, we're gonna own the libs. Understand what you're celebrating right now. 70% of the people that the Trump administration has deported have no criminal history at all. 75% of the people that they have thrown in and given life sentences to in CCOT have no criminal history. These are not criminals. These are not violent criminals. They are not a threat to you. We're celebrating this. We're making merch off of putting people whose greatest sin was a fucking misdemeanor. Akin to a speeding ticket. And we're throwing them in concentration camps because of what they look like and where they came from. And we're selling merch.
It is provided to us by the state of Florida. Incredible.
One other thing about Republicans, including Benny Johnson, they don't laugh anymore. None of them have real laughs. You see Tucker Carlson. That's the fake. If you could end your laugh that quickly, this is the fakest fucking laugh. They are just cruel. They are just evil. This is not a real laugh. What's funny about that? I'm here at the concentration camp in the state of Florida. Gave me some merch.
Florida. Incredible. And yeah. Would you rock this drip? Look at that.
Nothing cooler than a dude in his 40s saying, would you rock this drip? This is the cringiest fucking shit.
I just want
Cool. The world is watching. The world is judging. And the world is correct. This is sick. Let's go here. Oh, shit. Where did that clip go? I want this clip. Did these get moved out of order? Let me go down. Sorry, Casey. I must have moved some of these out of order. Am I missing them? The fuck? Where did... I'm so sorry. I'm missing like 3 clips here. All right, it's actually going to go down to 19. Sorry, Casey. I'm going to go from 19 and then I'll add 6 in there. Here's Trump and Kristi Noem down at the alligator Alcatraz doing a photo shoot like Kristi Noem always does. They're in their merchandise, legitimately just like everything is merched up here and celebrating the opening of a concentration camp in Florida.
And Madam Secretary, CNN yesterday pushed an app that lets you track where ICE agents are. Tom Homan was saying that perhaps CNN should be prosecuted for that as obstruction of law enforcement. Your response?
Yeah, we're working with the Department of Justice to see if we can prosecute them for that, because what they're doing is actively encouraging people to avoid law enforcement activity.
All right, so I gave you the stats. 70% of the people who have been put into ICE custody, at least that's out of LA, and 75% of the people who have been detained at CCOT on life sentences don't have a criminal history. And so the people in America are rising up. The people in America are fighting against this obvious miscarriage of justice, this obvious inhumanity from this administration. So what they've done in the ICE Block app, which I'll get to in a minute, basically just says that it allows you to report when you see ICE. And so people will just be aware that ICE is around. That's it. There is nothing unconstitutional about that. There's nothing illegal about that. It's the same like my Apple Maps tell me when I know when I drive long term, my Apple Maps will say a speed trap is coming. People report that there's a speed trap. Why are you not allowed to do that? And now what they want to do is they want to sue or imprison anybody who just doesn't do what this administration wants them to do. How the fuck? Just explain to me, just somebody explain to me how this is different than Germany, please. We have legitimate concentration camps. The overwhelming majority of the people put in the concentration camps have not harmed anybody. They are simply just here working. The overwhelming majority. Those who stand up and try and get in the way of what they feel is unjustified roundups are now also being threatened with being imprisoned, just like in Germany. What's the difference here? And we're targeting brown people. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys. Like you in Germany, using this same line of logic, you would have stood by and you would have watched people in Germany be deported. You would have watched them be put on trains and whisked away to concentration camps. Well, look, Germany also said that the Jewish people were there illegally. Tough luck. They said the same thing. It's not like Germany had like real solid immigration policies. They were just telling everybody they had been invaded, that the Jewish folks were there to replace them, to take their jobs, to destroy the culture of the country. They were bringing in their own religion. Oh, scary religion too. Not good religion like Christianity. It's that scary one, Jewish religions. Yeah, and just like you guys, like everybody in Germany, you think they weren't telling people like go live in Poland then? If you don't like us rounding up Jewish people and throwing them in concentration camps, go to Poland then. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm not trying to convince you to change your mind. We already know who you are. You will sit and cheerlead as people that have a misdemeanor are ripped, literally ripped from the arms of their family members, ripped from the arms of their children and thrown in a concentration camp. Where, by the way, you see them? You don't think there's going to be abuse? You don't think there's going to be fights? You don't think there's going to be rape? You don't think there's going to be sexual assault? And are they going to? Do we have any oversight? Are we going to be able to go in there and see that? Will there be any repercussions for people who are abused by guards? Absolutely not. There absolutely won't be. We already know, and we can't verify it. We already know that there are cases of people who claim to be sexually assaulted in the custody of our guards. We already know those, but we can't ever verify it, and they do that on purpose. They purposely won't let you in there. They won't let Congress do oversight on purpose. Your lack of humanity is astounding. This billionaire, rich person, sitting there talking about, oh, these people are really destroying America. By the way, this guy with the Gulf of America dumbass hat built his fortune off of the back of illegal immigration. He built an absolute fortune using illegal labor over and over and over again. And now he's sitting here going, we must get rid of these people. They are so bad.
These operations, and we're going to actually go after them and prosecute them with the partnership of PAM if we can, because what they're doing we believe is illegal.
And they may be prosecuted also for having given false reports on the attack in Iran.
Yes.
They were given totally false reports.
Now they're going to sue CNN. CNN reports on the ICE Block app, and they're like, we're going to sue them. Oh, and also we're going to sue CNN for reporting accurately on the Iran report. We're threatening the news for reporting on things accurately. We are going to sue CNN because they report things accurately. Yeah, keep supporting it.
It's totally obliterated, and our people have to be celebrated, not come home and say, what do you mean we didn't hit the target? We hit the target first. You know, the pilots came home and they said we hit the target first.
That's the most North Korea shit. That's honestly, like, even when we fuck up, you should celebrate us. Even when we don't accomplish our mission, you have to celebrate us. Soldiers should not come home and have to hear that they didn't accomplish their mission. It was the same thing when soldiers came back from Vietnam. The same thing. Do not talk to the soldiers about the fact that we completely fucked up and went to Vietnam. Don't even talk about the fact that we got our ass kicked in Vietnam, that we never should have been in Vietnam in the first place, and we sacrificed. How many people were lost in Vietnam? How many soldiers? I don't know. However many we lost in Vietnam. Don't talk about that. Just celebrate it. Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck about soldiers. He gives a fuck about people criticizing him. It was a completely failed mission based on what they said. They said complete obliteration. There literally not a single intelligence report exists that says it was complete and total obliteration. He said that. Every report says the opposite, and now he's suing people for not towing the line and saying, I know what the evidence is, but I'm just going to say what the president wants me to say. This is we're just there. This is just fascism. All of you who said oh, I would never be fascist, you are. You in the chat, you're legitimately fascists. Yes, and Trump's still my president. You all come in with the same fucking talking points every day. He's your president. Cry more. Why don't you move? Why don't you guys come up with an argument? What if one of you came up here and explained to me why you support this? It's very easy to be a bigot from the comments. That's what we know. That's what we know from history. It's very easy to sit by and watch something happen. It's very easy to close your eyes and pretend that these things aren't happening. That's very easy for you. That's a nice point of privilege. Some of us have a conscience. Some of us are unwilling to just look the other way. You don't. And so you'll just come in here and spout the same fucking talking points over and over. Callie Cam shows up every day, says the same dumb shit every day, flexes every day like he's doing something, gets made fun of every day. I understand that this isn't about you. We've lost you. You guys are so far up Trump's ass that you'll never see what's real. But I do think that there are people in here that are more open-minded. Don't tell me that that's not true. Go watch debate panels right now. Go to Twitter, go to YouTube, go to TikTok, and go watch debate panels. Watch what happens when a Republican is forced to stand on business and defend their points. Republicans are not capable of standing with Donald Trump publicly because that's going to require them to say a bunch of fucked up shit. And people are going to hear their voice. And most people don't have that. Most people don't have that ability. And I'll challenge each and every one of you above me in the top that corner, whatever that is for you. There is a username, GenDub1, and you can add that name on Discord and you can come up here and talk about it. But today, what I won't be doing is addressing you in the comments because I think today is a day for you to listen. And today is a day for you to either get some balls and have a conversation or sit in the comments like the bitches that I think you are. And if you are not a little bitch, and if you can defend these positions, you're welcome to come up. You have a cell phone, you're on a cell phone, or you have a computer. You can come up and defend those positions. But today is not going to be the day where you guys get to sit there and shout talking points from the audience. I know we know this. We've tried. Every time one of you tries to come up here, all of a sudden your tone changes. It's in the comments. It's this guy doesn't know what he's fucking talking about. Fuck this guy, he's such a baby. And then it's like, hey, welcome to the show. How are you? Hey, yeah, I was being a little crazy in the comments. Let's have a real conversation. And then suddenly you don't defend those positions anymore. So we'll make that prediction for anybody who wants to come up and do that. Here they are again, threatening to sue the media. Charlie Kirk says the future of America will be determined whether or not we can execute on mass deportations. That's the future of America. They're not even not even hiding it anymore. Just mass deportation. How's that going to help America? Out of curiosity. This one I'll ask for, or I'll look for answers. Republicans, you're going to have to give real answers for me to address what you're saying. In what way will mass deportations help you? I'll wait for that. Whataboutism, whataboutism, insult, insult, whataboutism. Let's answer the question. How's this going to help you? There's Callie doing whataboutism again. Callie gets muted for 30 minutes for doing whataboutism. You don't get any whataboutisms today, Callie Cam. I'm tired of you today. Somebody mute Callie Cam for 30 minutes. 5 minutes. Let's do 5 minutes. And you're not allowed to do whataboutism today. You have to directly address any of these questions. Gets the people who's not supposed to be here out will help everyone. I said how, Jacob? How? How does that help you? How does deporting people help you? Jobs, housing. How does that help jobs and housing? We have 10 million jobs unfilled right now. This is going to significantly reduce our labor force. We already have vacant homes. No sense trying with people with no comprehension. Yeah. We won't be paying for all these illegals. Illegal immigration costs us about $50 billion a year. They bring in $100 billion a year. So we're going to lose $50 billion. We're going to lose money. Try again. Anybody else? Anybody else want to explain how this is going to benefit you? Sounds to me an awful lot like you guys are just repeating shit that you've seen on Twitter, and you've never really thought any of this out. Are you advocating for illegal labor? There we go. No, I'm advocating for legal labor. I argue for amnesty. That's my solution. Amnesty. Are you advocating that we lose farms, that we lose construction, that we lose all these businesses that are about to go under after they lose this labor? We could have kept those businesses afloat, and we could have increased tax revenue by giving these folks amnesty. But why not? Well, because it's illegal. Every one of you guys speeds every day. Every one of you that has driven a car, you've run a stop sign, you've run a red light, you've sped, you've changed lanes without a signal. Those are all civil offenses, the same way that crossing the border is. Should you go to jail? Yeah, I didn't think so. I did not think that any of them would have a solution for that. That's about right. They're bad. Okay, let me go back up to 6. Oh, wait, there was one more. Where is this? I don't know. I must have deleted it. Let me find this clip with Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis, by the way, and Trump are saying like they're best friends. They're back to being like best buds. Let's see if I can find it. I may not have saved it. Thought I did. Let me just look on Twitter, see if I can find it. Hey, Jen.
Okay. So you've got someone waiting to
to tell me? Oh, cool.
Huh?
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So there's someone waiting. So before you get into that, just want to remind everybody, sometimes these conversations can go long, unless it's the guy, Brian, who's in my DMs again this morning. Then he doesn't last very long. So while these are going on, remember that we have a gift goal in the top left-hand corner. If you guys could help us out with that, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all good towards knocking out that goal. And what we are doing today is any donation or gift over $5, you'll be entered to win a piece of our merch in our merch store. So if you guys want to help out with that'd be fantastic. Also subscribe if you haven't already. So yeah, I think that's it.
All right, thanks. Kristen says, what's the result? How bad do we think it gets? I don't know. I think at some point, it's already deeply unpopular in this country. It's already Trump's immigration policies are already really unpopular. I think it's gonna depend largely on the courts. The midterms are gonna matter a lot. Molly said, keep up the good work. Thank you. Alex said, the other hoots but can't shit. Oh, there we go. The other hoots but can't shit. That was the owl joke. And then Brianna said, my friend had surgery to transition from a man to a woman. I asked her, of all the things they cut, what hurt the most? The salary, she said. Pretty solid. All right, are they in there, Jen? They're in the. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
I got it. Thank you. Germ the Worm, what's up?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, you're very quiet. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
So yeah, I just had an issue with how you were using the term concentration camp and really comparing
Mhm.
this thing down in Florida to Auschwitz. It's to me
I don't think I
very
compared. I
disingenuous of
actually
you.
don't think I compared it to Auschwitz. When I referenced
You just said
Auschwitz,
how are we? You said how is this different than Germany? How is this different than Nazi Germany? That's literally what you said.
Correct.
So it is different. They're not.
Why?
And you said concentration camp. Do you know the definition of a concentration camp?
You can give it to me. A
It is
place
a
where
place.
where large numbers of people, especially political prisoners or members of persecuted minorities, are deliberately imprisoned in a relatively small area with inadequate facilities, sometimes to provide forced labors or to wait mass execution.
Yes.
It says sometimes.
Wait.
It doesn't have to be forced labor or mass execution, right? It says sometimes.
So, but when you use the
So,
term
Did
concentration
it fit the
camp,
rest of
right?
that? Does it fit the rest of that definition?
No, because the definition, forced labor or mass executions. Now
No,
you
no,
could say
that says sometimes.
but no, when they say, hey, we're using this as a detention facility, right? You could consider a jail a concentration camp then because
No.
they're not being used because it's not sometimes used for labor or mass executions.
No, because that's not about one political prisoners or members of persecuted minorities.
They're not political. They're not
Excuse
political
me,
prisoners.
excuse me,
They
brother.
broke the law.
Brother,
They
excuse me,
broke the law.
excuse me, brother. Listen, if you come up here and you're gonna have a conversation, I would appreciate if you'd let me finish my sentences.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Especially political prisoners or members of persecuted minorities. Now, when I look through these detainment facilities, I know that we have lots of people who are here illegally who are white. I'm not seeing white people at these detainment facilities. Are you?
I don't know. I don't go look at detainment facilities.
You might want to. You might want to look at them. You might want to look at the. You might want to look at the.
What's the percent of illegals here that are white?
It's impossible to say, but there's a significant amount of people that are here illegally. It could be anywhere from 10 to 40%. Depends on what numbers. It's impossible because you're not tracking who is here illegally. But basically, what they do, I mean, most people who are here illegally are on visa overstays. So you're like it used to be 90%. I think it's less than that now after the amount of asylum claims we had the last like 4 years. But before that, it was about 90%. And so that's from countries all over the world. But they're specifically targeting like Hispanic workplaces, Hispanic neighborhoods, places where they know there's heavy Hispanic populations, and they're going in specifically to those areas. So to me, it feels targeted towards Hispanic people.
Where would you recommend they go to target these white people? Do you know
I
where
don't
all
think they
these
should
white
target
illegals are at?
I don't think they should be targeting people in this manner.
I think you're inflating the fact that you're making it seem like there's a lot of white illegal people in this country.
There are.
What's the percent? You can't tell. You can't say.
You
don't know.
You can't say. It's impossible to say. We don't. If somebody's here illegally, we don't have a record of them. Any number that you chose would be a guess. The number of illegal immigrants, like when Donald Trump says there's 20 million illegal immigrants here, he's just making that number up. We don't know.
Yeah, but you don't think anybody should be deported anyway. So
No,
I don't know why you're arguing against the fact that
I actually do. See, now you're putting words in my mouth, which is why, like, when Biden was president, he deported way more people than Trump. When Obama was president, they deported way more people than Trump. And when Trump was president the first time, he deported more people than he is now. Our problem with Donald Trump's policies now is that they are cruel for no reason, and they're ineffective, and they're more expensive. We are spending far more per person to deport than we were previously, and we're doing it in a very cruel, inhumane way. To me, the reason that I compare this to Germany is that we have effective ways to deport people more effectively that are not inhumane. But this administration is choosing to do it in an inhumane way, and you guys are celebrating it, which is why, to me, this feels a lot closer to Germany.
What's more effective? What's a more effective way?
You
said there's a more effective way. What's a more effective way?
Well, so taking ICE agents, right, and taking 30 or 40 of them and going to a home to get one person is a very ineffective use of resources. We've never done that before. We were able to track people down using immigration courts, work records. Occasionally, we would also do workplace raids. We didn't videotape them. We didn't need 30 people for one person rolling in armored in full body armor with a camera crew for some reason. We weren't handing out bonuses. It's costing us some.
Well,
It's
if
costing
they're
us like
if we're going to deport,
$14,500 per person to deport because of the mass amount of money that we are pouring into this, and it's less effective. We're
if
deporting
we're
less
going,
people than we were before, and it's more cruel. So why not just go back to the way that's not cruel and more effective?
I don't know how you're saying we're deporting less people
Because
when
we're deporting less people. Statistically, we're deporting less people.
Well, but you're being just disingenuous when you say Biden deported more people because he let in more people than he was deporting.
No, those
So,
were asylum
dude,
seekers. So that has
yeah,
nothing to
they
do. What?
filled out
Excuse me.
they filled out
Excuse
an
me.
app.
3
You've been
minutes.
talking this
3
whole
minutes.
time. You've been talking this entire
Just
time.
wait
You have
till
not allowed me to talk.
the only request I'm making, sir, is that when I'm talking, wait till I'm done. That's it. We're talking about asylum seekers, not illegal immigration. Those people who are here seeking asylum, you can't just deport them. So all those people that came in seeking asylum, those didn't apply to Biden's deportation numbers because they're not illegal immigrants. They are here legally.
Okay. So, in Trump's first term, when these people came to seek asylum,
Mhm.
what was the rule that we had for those asylum seekers? Remain in Mexico. You can't come into this country and stay in this country for what's the date right now that they're pushing the court cases out for the asylum seekers, like 5 years.
It
So
can
we're
be.
going to allow these people to come in, live in America for 5+ years to wait for
Are
their
we changing the
asylum case.
subject real quick? Are we going to
No,
asylum
this is
seekers
about
now?
asylum seekers.
Well,
That's
those
literally
aren't
what we
illegal
talked about.
immigrants.
Okay, yes, I know you're saying that they're not illegal immigrants, but anybody under the Biden administration could fill out an app, right? A form on an app saying they're seeking asylum. They meet with a border patrol or border protection, and they would say, "Okay, here's your court date. Go off wherever you want to go."
Yep.
How is
That
that any different than just walking across the border illegally?
well that
And you could claim asylum for anything over an app with no evidence.
do you understand that
No evidence.
do you understand that law was the same law that was in place when Trump was president? And it's the same law that's in
We didn't have
place
the app.
excuse me, and it's the same law that's in place right now?
We didn't have the app
I know,
when
but the
Trump was
app
president.
was there to make it easier, not only for them to fill it out, but also for us to track it. It removes steps because before you had to fill out the paperwork. Then you needed somebody to be there with them, fill out the paperwork. They may need help filling out the paperwork. Then you had to file that paperwork. Then you had to make a digital copy of that paperwork. This was just a way to digitalize the process. It actually makes everything quicker. If we didn't have that app, things would have been even worse.
Well, why did the amount of asylum seekers quotations
Why are you using
increase?
quotations?
Because they're not all asylum seekers.
Yeah,
because
like 90% of them are not. 90% of them have their claims denied.
We would have seen that rate of asylum seekers in Trump's first term.
We did.
Without the app.
We did.
No.
We did. Donald Trump was campaigning in 2019 and 2020 on migrant caravans. With 2 days left in his administration, on his way out the door, he wrote an executive order talking about the asylum seekers from Venezuela, and he gave them temporary protected status. And in that executive order, he acknowledged that part of the reason that they were at our southern border was because of direct action that his administration had taken in Venezuela, which destabilized their economy. This started under the first Trump administration. It continued through the Biden administration, but it was. You can go look. Like I could show you a chart of the spike in immigration. You'll see it started in 2019.
It was not the spike was not at the levels of the Biden administration.
No, but you said that it didn't start under the Trump administration. It absolutely did. But what actually
caravans started coming up to the border before Trump was out of office.
I know.
Yeah, because they knew.
No, because of actions we took interfering with other countries. We crippled the entire economy of Venezuela. Do you know that?
Okay, see, but
did you know that
right there? See, see, that right there is understandable to allow asylum seekers when we are a direct result of something that happened to them, right?
I
But
got
just
bad.
taking asylum seekers from Africa, from any
Which we
country down in South America.
which we destabilized. Name a country that where we're getting asylum seekers that we have not destabilized. Name one.
Mexico.
We're not taking asylum seekers from Mexico. You can't claim asylum coming from Mexico.
Yes, you can.
No, you cannot. Want to try again?
Who knows? El Salvador.
Yeah.
Any country.
Yeah, El Salvador.
Any
Yeah,
country.
we interfered in El Salvador. Oh, and by the way, El Salvador right now is cutting a deal with the Trump administration to not prosecute some MS-13 gang members. Weird, huh?
I guess.
Yeah, we interfere all around the world. This is the thing. This is why I say, like, the outrage about the amount of immigration that's coming here, we have to recognize our role in that. When we talk about, like, for example, fentanyl coming across the border, why is fentanyl coming across the border so much?
Because we allow that there's the borders open, we allow people to come in with fentanyl.
Let me ask that question a different way, because I probably didn't ask that in the right way. Why are so many people trying to bring fentanyl into our country?
Because people use it.
Okay. Why are people trying to sneak in children for sex trafficking into our country?
Because there's really deep, dark people in this country.
Okay. And those human trafficking and fentanyl, do you know what percentage of that trafficking occurs by United States citizens?
I don't.
About 90%. So do you see how when people say, like, oh, this is a problem, China's sending fentanyl or Mexico's sending fentanyl, they're the problem. We're the problem. But we're blaming if 90% of fentanyl is brought in by American citizens, why are we deporting immigrants using the justification of fentanyl?
Well, I'm thinking I've not once said that the reason we should deport people is because
I'm not saying you said that. That's fair. That's fair. I'm saying, but you would acknowledge that both Kristi Noem testifying before Congress and Donald Trump regularly, they use fentanyl as an excuse for why they're going around and they're rounding everybody up.
I mean, fentanyl is a big issue, and I do think there should be more things put in place to
right.
like,
but why are we using
slow-
that as a justification to round up immigrants? Is what I'm asking.
I don't know.
It's
I haven't
clearly
heard
an
them
American
talk about-
problem, right?
I guess. I mean, not clearly an American problem when like 90% of fentanyl comes from China, right?
Yeah, it comes from China, but it wouldn't be here if
Yeah.
we didn't have people who wanted it, right?
I mean, so
do you take
it's-
fentanyl? Do you take fentanyl?
no, I don't take.
I don't
fentanyl.
either. Nobody's showing up at my house trying to sell me fentanyl.
Yeah, but it's like you saying that.
But if I
is
start-
like,
but if
oh,
I-
the
if I-
people should
sorry.
just not want it. You know, people should just not want it, and then we wouldn't have it. It's like
No,
it's
what-
kind of you can't do that because
That's not what I'm
people are
saying.
addicted to it.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we have a problem with fentanyl and we should address that. But this administration's a way to address that seems to be deporting immigrants, which doesn't make any fucking sense.
But,
That's literally what they
have-
say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with that. That that doesn't make any sense. Deporting people wouldn't slow the influx of fentanyl, but they have seized more fentanyl at the border under these first few months of his administration, or the rate of seizes has gone up.
And it's almost exclusively American citizens that they are seizing the fentanyl from.
Well, that's fine. It's being seized more because of the precautions and because we locked down the southern border.
Yeah, look, there's certainly this administration certainly has added some boots on the ground and some technology, and they are focusing on fentanyl, and I appreciate that. But the whole point of this conversation is that I can't figure out why we're deporting all of these people. Nobody
Because
can tell me.
they're here illegally, and
Yeah,
they broke the law. We don't know.
So why deport
exactly
them?
who all's here? We don't know who all's here. We don't know who they are.
But once we find out who they are and we find out they're not criminals and they're working, why are we deporting them?
Because there's a process. There's a process you gotta go through.
Why?
and
I
that's
know.
just how it
Why
is.
not? Why though? Why is that? Why not change that process? Why not say, oh, they're here?
Why
they're
didn't
not.
Biden change the process?
He couldn't.
It's
He couldn't. But I'm asking you just your opinion, right?
Yeah, in my opinion is
Why
there's a
deport
way to
them?
do it, and there's people. I work with a guy who's from Bosnia, a guy who's from Poland, a guy who's from Russia. They've all came here. This guy waited 10 years in order to come to this country legally.
Okay, but
And
you're
we just
not.
think, okay, well, we'll allow these people who came in here 2
Okay,
years
but
ago.
why? I'm
We'll say,
asking
hey,
why.
here's
What benefit are
what?
what benefit do we get? It seems to me, I live in Arizona. I don't know where you live, but I live in a border state. And we rely heavily not only on legal migrant labor, but also illegal migrant labor. And we are going to, this is going to cripple businesses. It's already crippling businesses. It's crippling the construction industry, specifically if you go down to like the southern part of our state, where you even have like legal migrant labor, people who come across the border and work the fields in Arizona. They're afraid. They're not coming now. And so we have farmers whose entire crops are just going to waste. It is crippling our economy in Arizona. And I'm wondering, what benefit are we seeing? Just so that we can say, oh, they broke the law, they're gone?
Do you know what happens when...
Would you respond to what I said first before we go to that? Would you just respond to me? Like, do you understand why I'm saying, like, why is this a benefit? This is hurting Americans. This is hurting all of us to deport this amount of labor.
Right? So,
yes, necessarily. Businesses are closing.
That's where I was going with my next. Do you understand what happens when say a construction business has a bunch of illegal immigrants? They all get deported. What does that business have to do? They have to hire Americans. Oh, and Americans say,
we don't have
Americans
Americans
that job.
Yeah.
I don't want that job because it doesn't pay well.
Okay.
What do? They raise their wages.
And what does that do? And what does that do? And what does that do to the cost of the house?
The cost of the house might go up a little bit.
Might.
I mean, how much your wage is going to go up?
Significantly.
$10 an hour?
I don't know if you know this. Like the people that are working
here's what you're advocating
brother.
for,
Not in the middle of my sentence, please.
Yep, sorry.
These people that are working here, like I have friends, I have people that I've worked with that are here illegally. They are not working for slave wages. These construction companies are paying them well, and these like my friends that run construction companies, they're paying $25-$30 an hour, and they cannot. And the minimum wage here in Arizona is $15 an hour. They're paying illegal immigrants $25 to $30 an hour, and they can't find people to fill those positions.
You're telling me that
Double
there's
the minimum
Americans
wage
out there that would want to work for $25-$30 an hour?
Yes,
you're high.
Not those jobs.
There's so many able-bodied people out there
unemployment
that don't work because
unemployment's
they
low,
draw
brother.
unemployment.
Unemployment is low. We have very low unemployment right now. There are not people waiting in the wings to take these jobs.
They can't, because these jobs are filled by these illegal immigrants.
Because Americans won't do the labor.
These construction companies save money by hiring
No, they don't.
immigrants.
I just told you he's paying $30 an hour.
No, yes, on taxes.
What?
On taxes.
What?
If they're paying under the table?
What are you saying on taxes?
On taxes, they save money. If they're paying these people under the table,
you're talking about like a payroll tax?
They don't have to pay for they don't have to pay for their health insurance. They don't got to pay any of that. They just pay them cash under the table.
Right. So now
they're saving money by hiring these immigrants. So why would they hire an American?
Right. So now let's think this through. So now you take the jobs that are lost, and now he can't hire anybody for $30. So he's probably gonna have to go to $40 an hour. And then there are requirements for healthcare because we're the only dumbass country in the world that doesn't provide healthcare for all of their citizens. For God knows why. So now he's going to have to pay $45 an hour, and he's going to have to pay for healthcare. What do you think that's going to do to the cost of housing everywhere?
Dude, you're advocating literally for these big, rich businesses.
No, I have solutions for all of this. I have solutions.
Pay cheap labor.
That's not cheap labor. I have solutions for all of this. The solution is give people who are here, who are working, who came here illegally, but they're working, give them amnesty, allow them to work, allow them to pay taxes, and do universal health care. Take the burden off the employer to provide health care and provide it for everybody. It saves us money anyways.
There is no country where universal health care of this size has worked. And it would just...
Ever heard of China?
China is...
You ever heard of it? It's way bigger than us.
China's a great country to live? China's a great country? Are you fucking literally advocating that saying China is a great country to live in? Are you kidding me?
It's a pretty good standard. China
is a communist country.
There's no such thing as a communist country, but China's a great place to live right now.
The CCP.
but they're not communists because
It's communist.
brother, communism means that there is no government. Is there a government in China?
Dude, oh my God. No, of course, every single communist country has had a government.
Let me help you let me help you with this. If let's say like Mamdani, for example, in New York, if he wins the mayorship, does that mean that New York is now socialist?
No, it doesn't mean New York's
Okay.
socialist.
Why not?
It means
Why-
it's a socialist mayor.
Why are they not socialist if he wins?
Because we're still in a capitalist country.
Same with China.
So
You can own your own business. You can own your own business in China. You can invest capital in China.
you can own sweatshops in China.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you're just like
No,
China
wait,
is
wait,
not a
just stay-
good
just stay-
country.
wait, stay.
China
no,
is not a
excuse me,
good
excuse
country.
me, sir. We're not arguing whether or not China is good or bad. However, I think you're wrong about China. China is catching up and passing us everywhere. China will likely overtake the United States as a world power, and we're accelerating that right now
Because they
we
pay
have the
their
world. We have the
people pennies
world's
on the dollar.
No, they don't. Their wages are going up.
Holy moly, dude.
Yeah, you're using talking points that are 30 years old. China has problems. China
Dude, you are
has
advocating
excuse me,
to be like
excuse
a
me.
communist
You're doing this
country.
again. You're letting
I
you're
no,
letting
I
your
can't-
emotions
I
get
can't
in the
let
way
you- I
right
can't
now.
let you talk.
You're letting
like
your
communist is a-
emotions get
or
in the way.
China is a
You're
great
letting your
country.
emotions get in the way of a discussion right now. Communism cannot exist in a country. Communism is the absence of a government. There is no such thing, and there never has been such a thing as a communist country. They do not exist. There are 0 socialist countries in this world. In fact, spoiler alert, there's no capitalist countries either. There are only mixed economies. That's it. This is a talking point that gets used on Americans to get them to never have a real discussion about what we should do. Because when I start showing you, do I want to live in China? No. Are there things China does better than us? Yes. Should we learn from those things and do them better than them? Yes. But we can't ever have that discussion because if I bring up something China's doing well, half our country goes, communism, I'm not listening anymore. We have to be able to have real discussions about ideas.
I feel like you don't know at all what actually goes on with their universal health care. Do you actually
what
have
goes on
any
with their
information
universal
about
healthcare?
it?
Yes.
Is it good? Is there long
It's
waiting
better than
periods?
ours. It's better. Do you know who has the longest waiting periods in the world?
The VA?
No. Which country has the longest waiting periods?
The VA? The US?
No, Canada. Guess who's number 2?
I don't fucking know.
Us.
Canada has
We're number 2.
Universal health care.
Yes, but I
Canada
don't.
has you're
I agree.
advocating for us to have
Wait.
long-ass
I agree.
waiting
Wait.
times.
I agree with that. I agree with that. The Canada has
And more people would
Excuse
mean
me. Calm down,
it's
sir.
harder to run.
Sir.
More people would
Sir.
mean it's more difficult
Sir.
to run.
Sir, calm down. I don't advocate. Not all universal health care is the same. I don't like Canada's system, and I don't like the UK's system. And I would not advocate for Canada's system or the UK system. However, both Canada and the UK have a better system than we do. I would advocate Medicare for all, which turns the instead of having it like a top-down government-run healthcare, I'd want top-down government-run health insurance. All I want the government to do is write a check when you go see the doctor. I don't want the government to tell your doctor what to do. I don't want the government to tell your doctor what treatments to prescribe. All I want the government to do is write the check. That's it.
And here's the issue with
That's why the
that
VA and
is-
Medicare are better than our healthcare system. The VA and Medicare both have better outcomes and better satisfaction than the United States private healthcare insurance. Even as bad as the VA and Medicare are, they're better than our private healthcare.
I guess it depends on who you're with. But I guess here's the issue, though. When government says, okay, there has to be at least a system in place where these hospitals, these industries cannot jack up their prices. And so then what we would have to do is put limits on what they could charge. And we're controlling the amount of money that they could charge for their products.
Bingo. Love it.
See, that is not a good idea.
That's free market capitalism, bud.
Dude.
That's free market. Is that not free markets? If we're negotiating against
If we're controlling, it's not free if we control the price.
Hold on.
The
It's
government
not,
controls
wait,
the price.
Hold on. It's not control. It's collective bargaining. It's the government saying
you can't go over this price.
No, that's not how this works. It's you can't go over this much profit. You can't mark up your price by 1,200% or we won't buy it.
Just like what Apple does.
What?
We allow Apple to do that shit.
Do what?
mark up their prices 1,200%.
Yeah, I think Apple operates in the free market, right? If an iPhone is $20,000 and an Android is $1,200, you're probably going to buy the Android. A handful of
So-
people. Hold on, let me make this point real quick. In healthcare, there's no limit, because if somebody comes to me, if they say like it's going to cost you $5 million to save your kid, I'm just going to pay for it. There's no other. And if I have healthcare insurance, I'm stuck with that provider. Whatever they tell me, they tell me. I have no ability to negotiate. So we want to take the negotiating power away from the people that run healthcare companies who are operating on a profit first motive. They care first about making money, and second about making money, and third about making money, and fourth about making money, and somewhere down the line they care about healthcare for us. I want to remove the profit incentive to keep people alive. I don't think that healthcare operates in a free market. I advocate for a free market with most products. I want a mixed economy, but healthcare has been shown time and time again that it does not operate under free market principles, and it gets bastardized, and people profit billions of dollars while they get to pick and choose who lives and dies. I don't think that that's a good system. And by the way, if we had that system in place, we could give people who are here illegal, just to bring it back, we could give them amnesty, people who are working, who are causing no problems, who have no criminal history, who are just simply here trying to make their life better. We could put them into our system immediately, which helps pay for healthcare, which helps pay for education, which raises our tax revenue. It offers no danger to any of us, and all of these businesses that are going to collapse if we get rid of all their labor don't collapse. It's a win-win-win-win-win. Deporting all these people is a massive loss for the United States. The only way where you don't lose is for the people that make the argument that you make that, oh well, we want everybody here to keep the law. That's silly. I think that's just a silly way to look at this.
It's just funny though, like you're making all these claims that it'll ruin the economy and it'll like be harder on working class Americans. I mean, I'm sure you were claiming this 2 months ago when everybody was saying there's going to be a recession, Trump's crashing the economy with his tariffs.
We had negative GDP. We had negative GDP. We had negative GDP
for 1 month.
No, not for 1 month. For the first. Hold on, real quick. We had positive GDP. Trump came in. We started this mass immigration, and for the first time in a long time, we have negative GDP growth in the first quarter.
What's our GDP growth now?
Negative 0.25.
Last quarter.
We don't have this quarter yet. It's not done.
Yeah,
we don't
I know,
have the numbers yet.
But you can kind of get an idea of what
it's not going to be. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good.
They were estimating it was going to be 4%.
Who's estimating it's going to be 4%?
I know. No, I'm thinking some different number. I could be wrong on that. I saw something, but they were estimating some sort of growth. That might not have been GDP, but GDP is definitely going to be out of the negative.
What do you mean? How do you know definitely?
This next quarter. Because of the track that our economy's on.
They think it's going to be 1.4%. That's the best estimate. The best estimate. Hold on. The best estimate is 1.4%. That doesn't even keep up with inflation. This is obviously bad. This isn't working. Donald Trump has crashed our economy. Do you not get that? He's put on tariffs and he's deporting our labor.
Now they're estimating 1%.
Excuse me. That's the middle of my sentence again. He's deporting our labor force. He's adding tariffs, increasing taxes, crippling business. We had negative GDP growth, and the best.
Where are you reading this from?
And the best projections now are saying 1.4.
Where are you reading this from?
This is from the Federal Reserve.
See, they literally were estimating a recession 2 months ago. And now they're estimating a GDP growth now this quarter of 1.4%.
That's right, but this is down. Like normal GDP growth.
You know what, a recession would have been negative. So now
why do you always talk? Why do you always talk when I'm talking? You've got to be a little bit better. I've been very respectful.
You do the same shit. Stop crying.
I haven't done that. And you're getting very emotional right now when I'm giving you numbers.
Because you're crying.
No, because you're getting your ass kicked right now and you're frustrated. I didn't say recession. Man. I said he's like, what was GDP? What was average GDP the year before, or quarterly GDP the year before Trump took office?
I don't know.
It was between like 2 and 3%.
Okay.
And now we have negative and then 1%. That's bad. That's not good. 1% GDP growth doesn't keep up with inflation. Inflation's at 2.5%. You need GDP to keep up with inflation. This is not good. I didn't say recession, so don't try and pin me to an argument where I said recession.
No.
I said Trump is crashing our economy. And you're going to have to give me some different numbers that say he's not. What numbers do you you'll get your chance. Chill. What numbers do you have that tell me that I should expect GDP growth?
Listen, what did Trump say before he even took office? You know,
a lot of dumb shit.
Because all we have to change a lot of stuff, and people might hurt for the first year, until things get better, because we have to change so much shit.
Cool. He's wrong. He's a dipshit. He's fucking wrong, dude. Yeah, was your source really?
GDP
well,
is going
Trump
up.
Trump
GDP
said
is increasing.
You literally said Trump said that it's going to get worse before it gets better. Okay, I don't give a fuck what that guy says. He's an idiot.
And what was it? It was worse, and now it's getting better.
No, it's way worse.
It's increasing
from his numbers. It's still way lower than it was previously.
Dude, we're so early. This is the second quarter. First quarter was down. Second quarter's going up. What's third quarter going to do?
What makes you think GDP is going to go up? What makes you think GDP is going to go up?
The spending cuts. They're about to pass. They just passed.
We're increasing spending. What are you talking about? Spending's going up.
That doesn't include tariffs.
Spending's going up, even including tariffs.
Yeah, but it doesn't. No, it doesn't include the tariff revenue.
Yes, it does. In quarter one, we brought in something like $80 billion in tariff revenue, and our deficit was $200 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
so it's not going to pay for
it. The bill has not passed.
The bill doesn't have tariffs in it. Tariffs are
the bill cut some spending, adds some
the bill added
People
spending.
Say,
no, it's increases spending
and it
overall.
Cuts some too.
But it increases overall.
I know it's increased overall.
Okay.
But it does. But then when people say, "Oh, it's going to add to the deficit," they don't include revenue that we're going to get from the tariffs.
The hypothetical. Wait, we're going to lose tariff.
Hypothetical. You just pulled up a graph earlier. You just pulled up a graph earlier showing that we were making a fuck ton more money on tariffs.
Yes. But Trump is going to get rid of the tariffs. They're a negotiating tactic. The tariffs are going to go away. We're not going to continue to get that revenue.
How do you know?
Because if I take him at his word that he's going to lower tariffs and that he's just raising them as a negotiating tactic.
But when other countries lower because all the other countries have lowered their tariffs.
No, we have zero trade deals. Trump has accomplished zero trade deals. We don't have any trade deals done yet.
You're saying no other countries have lowered their tariffs.
No,
that is not true.
For trade deals, they've lowered tariffs on things, sure, but we don't have any trade deals done. They've also increased their tariffs.
There's no trade deals, but you said for trade deals, they lowered their tariffs.
No, I said not for trade deals. There have been countries that have increased
there's no trade deals,
brother.
But tariffs have been lowered.
I'm wondering.
See, that's you just
said that tariffs were going to pay for these spending increases, but first of all, they can't. They're already not paying for these spending increases or the spending that we have, and we're going to increase spending. Tariffs will not pay for that, and Trump says we're going to get rid of them. And by the way, if tariffs do pay for them, if we increase our spending and cut taxes for rich people and we pay for that with tariffs, that means the middle class is paying for a tax cut for rich people. Tariffs are paid by Americans. You get that, right? That's a tax increase. Could you answer that question? Could you answer that question, please?
Tariffs are not a tax.
Could you answer that question? What?
Yeah, tariffs are not a tax on middle class Americans. Is that what you're saying?
Who pays the majority of tariffs?
So GE is investing $500 million back into this country to build a plant.
I asked you who pays tariffs, is what I said.
The companies.
Okay, and then what? And then do they keep their costs the same, or do they increase the cost?
Some of the companies said they were going to eat the cost.
What companies
like GE,
said they were going to eat the cost?
Toyota are building
what companies said they were going? What companies said they were going to eat the cost?
I'd have to Google.
By the way, the Toyota and the GE, those deals were all announced in 2023. So I don't think it has anything to do with tariffs.
GE was not announced in 2023. That's a lie.
Did they? Maybe they've announced another new plant. They might have announced another new plant, but GE announced new manufacturing
to build in Kentucky.
GE, yeah, they also did that in 2023.
But that's how they get around the tariffs, by building in America.
What are you?
And that's going to bring more jobs back to America.
Who says?
I don't know why are you arguing?
Says who?
That's GE. Are you fucking retarded? Do you listen to what I'm saying? They're building
Yeah,
a plant.
I do listen
That's
to what
going to
you're
be more
saying.
jobs. Are you like, what the fuck?
You're very emotional, sir. How many
Because you
jobs?
just
How many
disregard what
jobs?
I say.
How many jobs are they going
I
to
don't
make
know.
up?
I worked at a Continental Tire plant that had 3,000 people. That's probably very high though. So I'd probably say around 1,000.
Okay, and there's 330 million people. So that's
Maybe. I mean, but
so
it could
that's
be
worth.
more.
So that's
It just
worth.
depends on the size of the plant. I don't fucking
So wait.
know.
So how is that going to pay for the increased spending?
Dude, no.
Oh.
The tariffs
Oh.
on other countries is bringing more money in.
From
And then
Americans. Americans are paying that. It's bringing in more money from Americans. So Americans are paying more in
other
taxes.
countries, like China has lowered tariffs on certain products that
But those are Chinese people. Yeah, so Chinese people are paying those tariffs.
Yeah, but it's so when these companies,
brother, why do you think there's not a single economist in this country who says that this big beautiful bill won't increase the deficit spending? Why do you think that is?
because I hate Trump.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's definitely what it is.
They all go against Trump.
Well, had
no
the lax
what.
did the let's say so Trump did the TCJA. Did that after the Tax Cut and Jobs Act did that increase, like did we have higher GDP than we did under Obama after that, or was it lower?
Say again. Sorry.
After the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, the 2017 tax cuts, did that increase our GDP higher than Trump's predecessor, or was our GDP lower?
I guess lower.
It was lower. It was lower. But guess what did happen? Rich people got to keep more of their money. So if rich people get to keep, hold on. So if rich people get to keep more of their money, and the reason that we let them keep more of their money is because then they'll invest more, which will cause our GDP to go up, and it will cause wages to go up. Then why didn't the GDP go up when we did that? Why didn't wages keep up with inflation?
I don't know, but what do you know the average?
Because I'll tell you.
The average
I'll
amount
tell
of
you
money
why.
that
I'll tell you why. Because when we give tax cuts to rich people, they just keep the money. This is Donald Trump selling you and me out.
But what I was about to say would refute you, because you know how much the wages went up for middle class Americans under Trump's first presidency.
They didn't keep up with inflation.
$4,500.
They didn't keep up with inflation.
You know how much they went up
under
I don't
Obama?
Think that's,
wait, hold on, real quick. Wait, hold on, real quick. That number is bullshit. That number takes all wages and puts them together, and it's heavily skewed. If you take rich people out of that, and you take just actually people in the middle class and how much their wages went up, I think it's less than $500. I think it's $400.
No,
that number is something that is
COVID.
a trick. That is a trick that Republicans use all the time, where they include all the money where rich people made money, and they lump it all together, and they say, "Look at total wages."
It's a trick.
But if you take,
where's your evidence?
I can show it to you. But if you take the wages of the actual middle class, I think it was something like $400. I can pull it up while you're talking.
And under Obama, the average wages only went up by 1,000.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
So all you care about is GDP. That's all you care about. You don't care about that.
That's total wages, though, right?
I believe it's middle class.
No, it's not. That number is everybody. That's not middle class. That number is every time a Republican tells you how much wages went up or how much like wealth went up, they use the total, because what they don't want to show you is that the overwhelming majority of those wage increases and wealth increases go to the top 1%. So they give you a cumulative number, and then you're like, "Hey, look." But it didn't happen. It didn't happen that way for middle class people.
I mean, I don't know. My life seemed a lot better back then.
Why? What was better?
I felt like I had more money.
Did you have more money?
I did.
How did you have more? How did you have more money back then? You were making more money.
Prices went up under COVID.
Prices go up every single year on everything.
COVID really jacked it up.
Yeah, and then they came back down. Right. That's what inflation is.
I mean, they drastically went up.
Yes, because of global supply chain. Silly.
Yeah, I know, but it's
why.
So that's why my life was better.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with Trump. It has nothing to do with Biden. Prices went up for every country in the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See how silly this argument is?
Did you find the numbers?
Oh, yeah. What numbers was I looking for? Middle class wages? Are you going to answer what I said, or are you just not going to answer that? You're just going to pretend that
What did
you didn't just pretend that the global pandemic was Joe Biden's fault?
They didn't help. They increased spending significantly.
Wait, so did Trump.
Yeah, they passed stimulus. I disagree with the stimulus. I disagree.
Oh, of course you do.
I disagree with Trump's stimulus
Why?
because excess spending would drive up inflation. That's just how it works.
So what should we have done? Just let people starve?
There's a better way to do it. I mean,
What's the better way to do it?
I didn't need.
What's the better way? What's the better way to do it?
Figure out who needs the money.
How would you do that?
I don't know, man.
So you don't know.
Don't just give money to everybody.
Don't you ever think about? Don't you ever think this stuff through, and think like, how would I have done it differently?
Did they have cutoffs for who got the money?
Is that a question? Is that an answer to my question? Have you not thought this through? What would you do differently?
I would have probably used some tax returns and figured out, okay, what was the people's, how much were they making?
How long? What do you think that would have taken?
I don't know.
A really long time, right?
So yeah, so let's just give free money to everybody.
Yeah, so people would have died. Yeah, I'm just saying, come up with a better solution.
People would have died. Where's your evidence?
When people
would have died. If they didn't get $1,200, people would have died.
Some would have, yeah.
That is such an ignorant statement.
Why? It wasn't just the $1,200, right? It was the expansion of food stamps, of Social Security, of unemployment. It wasn't just like you probably kept your job.
I know it was just one payment.
Like most of the stimulus wasn't just the one payment.
I know.
Okay. Well, we're talking about the total.
I'm using that.
Okay, but why are you using that instead of the total stimulus?
I mean, because that's a big part of it.
Yeah, but it was not that big of a part of it. It's actually a smaller percentage of it.
I don't know everything that's in it. I don't know.
I think this is the problem. You have very strong opinions, but it doesn't seem that like you've ever gone through any of this math or like thought through this. It seems like you're really heavy on just like the same stuff Trump said.
I'm literally disagreeing with Trump's stimulus. That's literally what I just said.
I know, but you're disagreeing. Yeah, but you're disagreeing with just like the stuff, or you're just agreeing with the stuff sorry, I should have said Republicans say. Is that better?
I think a lot of Republicans were on board. I mean, like, you have like maybe Rand Paul and Thomas Massey.
We like Rand Paul now. We like Rand Paul now. Middle class incomes got a 1.2% boost in after-tax income. Average is about 2.2% boost. So they had less of a boost than the year.
Is that the entire term or the first 3 years?
The first 3 years.
Where's
and wages were growing. It looks like at like 2.2%.
What are you looking at?
This is from bipartisanpolicy.org.
I want to look it up.
So here's what we have. Lowering tax rates across the board in revenue cost $1.2 trillion in debt. This is Trump's tax cuts. Doubling the standard deduction increased $1.2 trillion in
first time.
This is their 10-year projection. So it goes through. You have actual numbers through 2025, then it goes through 2027. Anyways, the point of this is about immigration. I think we've settled it.
Yeah.
I think that brother, why are you doing it in the middle of my sentence again? This is crazy, man. You got to be a little bit better. You got to be a little bit better than that. It is a concentration camp by definition. It's absolutely a concentration camp. I'm sorry that
you're comparing it to Auschwitz and Nazi Germany.
I didn't compare it to Auschwitz.
Ignorant.
The only time I'm
ignorant.
You're doing it again. You're doing it again. You're doing it again. You're doing it again. You're spiraling. When I brought up Auschwitz, what I said is, the main problem I have with Auschwitz is that they didn't have merch. That's when I was talking about the other, like, obviously I wasn't comparing the two. I just said that's the big criticism of Auschwitz is that they didn't have merch. So in America, when we do concentration camps, we do merch. That's when I brought up Auschwitz. But it's absolutely a
That's
concentration
literally
camp.
comparing the two.
Yeah, for merch, about merch.
You're comparing the two camps. One doesn't have merch. One has merch.
Correct. Yeah, that's what I'm comparing.
You're saying they're the same, but the only difference is they don't have merch.
They are both
You're
concentration
saying
camps.
they're the same, but the only difference
they are
is
both
one doesn't have
concentration
merch.
camps. That's true. But I'm not saying that. I've not said that the American government is exterminating immigrants. I didn't say that. Concentration camps have nothing to do. Like, you can have a concentration camp, and the concentration camps in Germany weren't for exterminating people until you had the final solution, until they were losing the war and they didn't really know what to do, and everybody had figured out what they were doing. And so rather than deal with the consequences and rather than let people out of the concentration camps, the Germans just decided to murder everybody. Which, by the way, like, do I see a scenario where if the whole world turned against us and we're saying, like, you've got to let these people out of concentration camps? Would I put that past Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, Stephen Miller, Tom Homan, Kristi Noem to just exterminate people? I wouldn't. Am I predicting it? No. Well, we've already lost immigrants. There's already immigrants that we have no idea where they are. And we've asked the ones that have been picked up by ICE, and we have no clue where they are. And when we ask ICE, ICE has no record of them. They don't know, but DHS can't tell. Well, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, maybe we shouldn't have a system where we just lose people. And all for no gain. All for no gain. You're going to get nothing out of this. This benefits your life nothing. This is going to it costs you $14,500 for every person. It's going to drive us into debt. It's going to drive us into
will go down. Wages will go up for working class Americans.
There's no. Could you cite an economic study that says that will happen?
Dude, the thing is,
I just heard somebody say it once. Can you cite an economic study?
Studies? Anytime you look up economic studies about Trump's economy, literally, I said 2 months ago they were saying there's an 80% chance of a recession. It turned around. Everybody's going to disagree with Trump. Everybody's going to disagree.
Hold on, brother. You don't know that it's turned around right now. Remember, the 1% is
recession.
Excuse me. The 1% GDP growth is a projection. The projection of Q1 was 2%, and it came in at negative 0.25. So I don't know that we have a good grasp on whether or not we're going to have positive GDP growth, because the last projection said 2% and it came back negative, and now it's saying 1%. So if the trend holds, which we'll see, if the trend holds, then we are going to have negative GDP growth again. Yeah, you don't know. You don't know yet. And if it is negative, I fully expect you to come back. I fully expect you to come back here and say I was wrong. No, just kidding. You will just avoid it. You will just pretend that didn't happen.
If there's a recession, I'll come back and say it.
If there's a second quarter, if we get negative GDP,
second quarter of negative GDP.
Right. Fair enough.
Yes.
Either way, economic growth has significantly slowed in this country, and we're deporting labor right now. There is no evidence. I've seen no economic study. I've seen no real economist who says that deporting our labor is going to make anything better. Maybe the cost of housing in some places will go down. Maybe. I don't think that's worth it. I don't think that's worth people losing their jobs. I don't think that's worth negative GDP. I don't think it's worth stagnating our economy. I don't think it's worth driving us into more debt to deport these people so that maybe housing will go down momentarily. As soon as the labor force is filled, those prices will go right back up. So we're going to deport all these people for like a brief moment of the price of housing going down? It doesn't seem worth it to me.
How were things okay before all these illegal immigrants were here?
What?
Before Biden let all these illegal immigrants in, they all got jobs. Now we're deporting them.
Almost none of these.
How were things okay before they got here?
Almost none of these.
High. We weren't struggling. It wasn't terrible.
Brother, almost everybody that came in under Biden was not an illegal immigrant. They were almost all asylum seekers. That's not illegal immigrants. That's not who we're deporting. We're not deporting asylum seekers. Your argument makes no fucking sense.
Didn't Braco Garcia claim asylum?
Yes, but he didn't come in during the Biden years.
He got deported.
In fact, he didn't
asylum.
What happened to him is
You're the
he
asylum
was,
seeker.
excuse me, what happened to him is that he was accused of being a member of a gang. And so deporting him to El Salvador with that accusation of him being a member of a gang would have put his life in jeopardy. So he had to stay. So legally, he put that in that his life would be in danger if he was deported to El Salvador. And so legally, we couldn't deport him. And if we wanted to remove that status, we had to give him the opportunity, because of due process, to appeal that. And instead of letting him appeal it and go through the process, we just grabbed him and gave him a life sentence in CCOT.
Yeah, and they admitted that they messed up.
No, they didn't. No, they did not.
They admitted that they did
No,
it. That
they
should have
did not.
in the interview.
No, they did not. They said he got due process. Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem, Donald Trump, they all said he received due process. They all lied. They're still lying about it. And now they're creating new charges. Instead of admitting that they were wrong, they're letting other felons, violent criminals, they're letting violent criminals out of jail to testify against Abrego Garcia.
Okay, I gotta pause real fast. So let's if you want to read some of the comments that we've got so far.
Yeah.
And I just want to remind everybody that while this debate's going, we still have that gift goal, which is in the top left hand corner. So if you guys could help, if you support the channel, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all go towards that goal. Also, today is International Joke Day. So if you send anything over $5 with a joke, we'll put you in an entry to win some free merch. And subscribe if you haven't already. So and update the gift goal number.
Okay, Brittany says, Happy International Joke Day. What does a robot do after a one-night stand? He nuts and bolts. Robert says, Swamp and Tration Camp. Good job, MAGA. You idiots. You got your big dumb bill, too. Brian's still screaming. Alex said, "What? Why is an altar boy's hair always parted?" I'm not doing this one. I'm not doing this one. All right. I'll do that one later. Chris said, my weekend contribution. Tony said, what did the ocean say to the shore? Nothing. It just waved. Nate says, went to the VFW last night. It was amputee night. Man, that place was crawling with pussy. Jesus. Brother Bob said, I hit a rabbit on the drive home from work yesterday. I got out of my car. It was laying there near death, so I decided I was going to put it out of its misery. Someone else pulls up and yells, wait one second. I stand there as the lady digs around her trunk. She walks up to the rabbit finally with an aerosol can and sprays the rabbit. It jumps and runs away with his back right leg waving behind it. Maybe Jen says, what did she spray on the rabbit? She sprayed it with hair restore and with permanent wave. Charles, thank you.
Hey, Jerry, man.
Yeah.
Sorry I didn't interrupt you. I got to get out of here. I got to get to work, man.
All right, come back
thanks
anytime.
for talking with me.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll see you. Bye. Charles said one entry for each donation. Yes. Amy said China has more middle class than we have people. Free schooling, healthcare, paid time off, no taxes after you retire. Thank you, Tim, for joining the Dollar Train. Alyssa said MAGA. That's my joke. Just MAGA. Enough said. That's a pretty good joke. Let's see here. Hey, guys, I would just want you to know that we made it through it. Jen, are you still here? Jessica said, for your insane patience with hysterical guests. I didn't call anybody a dumb bitch. We want to talk about that?
Yeah. Sorry, what'd you say?
I didn't call anybody a dumb bitch.
That's gold star for you.
Thank you. I've been needing a gold star. I've desperately needed a gold star. All right, I'll update that. Jen, will you just I sent you the screenshot of the debate on Friday or Saturday, right? Send that to you.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so Saturday night, I have a debate. It'll take place on the Raging Tomatoes YouTube channel. Everybody's welcome there, but we will have members only stream on Twitch and YouTube too. So if you're a paid subscriber, that'll be members only, and we'll stream them both together. So if you're a member, you can get our live stream. If you're not a member, you'll need to go to Raging Tomato to watch their stream. I think I got all of those. And let me update the number. Jen, any more announcements while I update this?
Let me see what else I got. What else I got? So like the last guest came on, if you guys want to come talk to Jay, how you do that is if you look at the Venmo, that's the same as my Discord username. You just add me onto Discord, and I can bring you on to have a conversation like that last guest. So check out our link tree in the bio. We're on most platforms. We have these episodes uploaded onto Spotify and She's also on Cameo, so there's that. So I had a boyfriend one time who wanted to have sex on the hood of his Honda Civic.
Uh-huh.
I refused. If I'm gonna have sex, it's gonna be on my own accord.
That's my kind of joke. Let's get to my second Norm Macdonald joke of the day. I don't even have the setup on this.
You want to hear my dad's favorite joke?
Yeah.
Oh, it's his dad's favorite joke.
You want to hear my dad's favorite
Dad figure. Here's Norm Macdonald, his dad's favorite joke.
joke?
Yeah.
He says he was from the farm, you know, and he says a guy comes from the city. City slicker comes and he buys a farm, and the farmer next door comes over to him and says, "Hey, now, would you like to come over to my house tonight? We're going to have a big shindig for you because, you know, we're neighborly here." And the city guy said, "Well, this is something that's I really like, you know, that this is why I moved to the farm, to have things like this, you know." Guy says it'll be a hell of a big party, you know. He goes, "It'll be, you know, a little drinking, a little fighting, a little fucking, you know." And the city guy goes, "Well, that sounds good. What time should I be here?" And the farmer goes, "Anytime you like, just the two of us." So they would drink, then get in a fight,
And fuck. It's your dad's favorite.
That's my favorite. That might be one of my favorite Norm Macdonald ones. All right, back to the outline. Let's go here. One of the things that I couldn't find that clip, but this is the clip. Never mind. Here it is. Here's the clip I was looking for. Here's Ron DeSantis at what was the name you guys got? Swamp. What did you call it? Swampentration camp. I like that one. Here's Ron DeSantis doing what Ron DeSantis always does. As soon as he gets in front of a camera, he just takes his dick out and he's like, "Look at these red states. We're so wonderful. Only the red states are doing concentration camps."
Don't let Florida be the only state. We've got very red states that should be doing this just as much as Florida's doing. That will increase their numbers. And then what happens is you'll have a lot of people that will deport on their own because they don't want to end up in an Alligator, Alcatraz, or some of those other places. So I think this is a model, but we need other states to step up.
I was going to ask you, would this be enticing for other states to come up with their own model?
They are doing it. We have Louisiana doing it, big Alabama's doing it. We have a lot of states. They seem to be red states and not too many blue states for whatever reason, you know. But the red states, Republican-run states are doing it. The blue states don't do very well at security and policing, unfortunately.
Let's talk about that. The red states, he says, don't do very good at security and policing. Alaska, which is more of a purple state, leads the country with violent crime at 759 violent crimes per 100,000 residents. Number 2, and he just mentioned, is motherfucking Louisiana at 629 per 100,000 residents. New Mexico at 780, Tennessee, Arkansas, California, Colorado, South Carolina, Missouri. Almost exclusively red states, with the exception of California, and then Colorado and New Mexico are like purple states. Interesting how that works out, right? That state he just bragged about that does so well with crime, they happen to be one of the most violent states in the country. Maybe they don't do so well with crime. Maybe the over-policing and the heavy-handedness leads to more crime. Who knows? How could we ever figure it out? We'll never know. Here's that ice block app that they've been referencing. This was the CNN report that now that I want to point this out. This is what CNN reported. And in Donald Trump's America, where we love free speech and we love freedom, CNN playing this clip is grounds for them, he thinks, to be sued.
When I saw what was happening in this country,
thanks, Meow, for the super chat.
I wanted to do something to fight back.
Joshua Aaron developed IceBlock. It's a free, crowdsourced app that alerts users when immigration and customs enforcement agents are spotted within a 5-mile radius of their location.
So imagine if you're walking down the street and a notification comes up on your device that says ICE has been spotted 4 blocks ahead. Instead of continuing down that path, you can turn left or turn around and avoid the situation altogether.
I'm looking at LA now. I'm seeing one in East Hollywood, and
And then as I zoom out, it's showing me a few others.
One of the core principles of the design of this app is 100% anonymity for our user base. But there is
no point out, June. Maybe the blue states don't even arrest and file charges for most crimes. That's why people are leaving blue states by the thousands. This is why it's so easy to dupe you guys. Is that Donald Trump tells you something, you believe it, the data shows otherwise, and rather than believing the data and thinking maybe that 80-year-old guy who fucking lies about everything is lying to me, instead of that you go, yeah, well, it's just the data's wrong. Trump's not wrong. That's what you just did there, June. And that's what you guys always do. You have an opinion, we show you the data that's against your opinion, and you go, oh, well, the data lies. That's the incuriosity of conservatives is why we are now setting up concentration camps in this country that don't benefit you at all, that don't make your life better. In fact, they make your life worse, and you're supporting it because you just support whatever he says.
no sign-up process. There is no user data collected. There's no user data even captured by our app. The app was designed to inform, not obstruct. It's important to remind people that let's report the sightings, let's get people away from those areas so they can protect themselves and their communities, but let's not obstruct what's happening right now.
So that's what CNN should be sued for. Free speech, right? Donald Trump, Kristi Noem, Tom Homan, they are all saying that we need to sue all of these media outlets simply for just reporting on the news. Let's go to RFK Jr. Given this is the best advice he's ever given, I guess. I don't know. He went on Tucker Carlson, and this actually goes well with what June said. What Republicans have now decided is that almost everything they say is a fucking lie. Almost every policy that they claim, like what they claim a policy is going to do, is the opposite. And they're tired of being fact-checked into oblivion, and they're tired of data proving that they're wrong. So this administration is now just saying, anytime anybody disagrees with you, it's wrong. If you say something and they disagree with you, it's wrong. Don't trust experts. Don't trust data. Just trust us. This is the same, like one of the main reasons I left my cult, one of the leaders of our cult said, doubt your faith, not your, what did he say? What is it? Doubt your faith, not your, or doubt your doubts, not your faith. Something like, I can't remember. I got to pull it up. Yeah, I sound like George Bush here. Point is, fool me once, can't be fooled again. They're just all going to tell you now that if they say something and the data conflicts with it, you shouldn't trust them. And here's legitimate advice that RFK, a non-doctor, non-expert, non-scientist, is giving on the Tucker Carlson show. I doubt your hats. Don't you doubt my hats.
You know, my opinion, I always tell people, is irrelevant. People, we need to stop trusting the experts, right? We were told at the beginning of COVID, don't look at any data yourself. Don't do any investigation yourself. Just trust the experts. And
nobody ever said that. No, literally nobody ever said, don't look at any data yourself. The issues that we had with COVID, the big things that were silenced is when people started, if you look at like the stuff on Facebook and Instagram, the stuff that was silenced were like conspiracy theory things and people promoting and selling ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine as if they were useful to COVID, which we now know are not useful. And by the way, this is exactly what we're talking about. Ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine are not effective treatments for COVID. They provide no benefit. And yet, if you go on OAN, if you go on Newsmax, if you go on most of these people's podcasts, you will see at Right Side Broadcasting, you will see advertisements where they are selling you ivermectin in like a preparedness kit. It has no effect on COVID. And because people couldn't get it prescribed by their doctors, because some doctors would prescribe it and they're like, yeah, we'll give it a shot. And some doctors would say there's no evidence that it's beneficial, so I'm not going to prescribe it. So then you actually had Americans going to like feed stores and they would buy ivermectin meant for like horses. And that's where like the horse dewormer thing came. We weren't saying everybody was taking horse dewormer. We were saying that legitimately people were going into feed stores and buying out all the ivermectin because they couldn't get it prescribed. And so now people were taking a horse dewormer, something specifically formulated for horse deworming. And we're like, that's weird, and it's not effective. So those types of posts got silenced. But nobody ever said, don't check the data. In fact, Fauci regularly said, we are going off of our best available data. The data may change, and we will update you when we have new data. And he did update you when you had new data. That's how we know that the efficacy of masks wasn't as good as they thought it might be. And the reason that we know the efficacy of masks wasn't as good as they thought it might be is because they fucking told you that. And then after they told you that, they're like, see, they were lying. No, they weren't. They were just updating the data. They were saying, for most airborne illnesses, for the common cold, for the flu, a mask is sufficient. But this is stronger than that. It was not sufficient. It was not slowing the spread as much as we had hoped. And so the CDC came out and they said, here's the efficacy of masks. Here's the efficacy of the 6-foot social distance rule. And all these people who just never wanted to wear masks and never wanted to social distance said, look, that's proof that they're lying because you don't know what you're looking at. And RFK is doing the same shit. RFK was wrong about virtually everything during COVID-19. Let's please remember that. Almost everything RFK said about COVID-19, he was wrong about. And instead of acknowledging the things that he said that he was wrong about, he just keeps pointing to other people who got things wrong. But what he's pointing to is people who corrected. They took the best available data, and then the data told them something different later, and they corrected it. And he's pointing to them saying they lied. Nobody's bringing up that this dumb bitch is like, you should go out and take ivermectin. Nobody ever brings that up. So now he's saying, giving the advice, don't listen to experts.
Don't do any investigation yourself. Just trust the experts. And trusting the experts is not a feature of science. It's not a feature of democracy. It's a feature of religion, and it's a feature of totalitarianism. In democracies, we have the obligation, and it's one of the burdens of citizenship, to do our own research and make our own determinations about things.
Okay,
My opinion.
So what are we taking? So what's the determination? RFK said you shouldn't be vaccinated. Every bit of data, if I do my own research, every bit of data tells me I should be vaccinated. Even the efficacy of the mask, it was still better to have a mask than no mask, even with cross-contamination. This is such a bizarre thing for him to say. We have to do our own research. Does it not also? Should you not also, like, when you do your own research, rely on the best available data? This man has told us already that in October they're going to release a report telling you the origins of autism. They have already determined that they are going to, in October, RFK is going to show up on a stage somewhere and he is going to say, vaccines lead to autism. And there are going to be hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions of people, who stop vaccinating their kids, and we're going to see the return of diseases, and people will die. All because he doesn't want to admit that he's wrong. We already know that the study that he's going to use, it's been debunked many times. In fact, the journal that posted it wound up retracting it because they could not replicate the results. And they felt that the results were skewed, and they felt like they started with and I'll just tell you. So the study that he's talking about was studying the hepatitis B vaccine in black children. I think maybe specifically black boys. It might just be black children. I think it was black boys. And the findings after it was like a 30-year study is that at the beginning of the study, there were less people diagnosed with autism. And at the end, there were more people diagnosed with autism. And he said, look, here's the vaccine. Here's the autism rate. Therefore, it caused autism. What it left out is the fact that poor communities, which and black communities, have been underserved by the medical community forever. They have been unable. They don't get screening for diseases. They don't get proper screening, regular checkups. And as specifically like Obamacare, when that brought people in poor communities to a place where now they could get medical care, more people were diagnosed. You see a massive uptick in the diagnosis in poor communities of a lot of diseases or a lot of conditions after Obamacare. Once they got access to see a doctor, you can basically take autism, you could do diabetes, you could do ADHD, you could do dyslexia, all of these things. You saw a big uptick in diagnosis because people got access to care. And by the way, diagnosing more people with autism is a good thing. Anybody here who's neurodivergent, you know that once you were diagnosed with whatever condition you may have, for me, ADHD, once I was diagnosed with ADHD and I started learning about ADHD, I became better. I understood what my responses were. I understood the fight or flight. I understood the brain drain. I'm able to be a more effective communicator to my friends and my family or somebody that I'm in a relationship with, just knowing that, like, for example, on Thursday, and sometimes Wednesday night, because of this job and because we cover a lot of information that sucks, on Thursday, I'm usually gassed. I don't want to talk to anybody. If any of you have ever sent me a DM on Thursday, you know I'm not responding on Thursday. And the people around me feel that. And now that I'm able to just explain that to them, at least the people that care, that stick around, they know that on Thursday, I'm going to be like wiped out. My social battery will be drained. And I just need to check the fuck out for a little while. I just need to go, sit in silence, throw on some headphones, do something. But previously, before I was diagnosed, I would have internalized that and been like, "This is I'm fucked up. This is my fault. I'm choosing to lash out this way," or I would just lash out and I would say it was their fault. Like, "Oh, I must be having this emotional reaction because of you." But now I know what it is. I know why I get drained. That's a great thing. I'm a more productive member of society. I'm a better father. I'm a better friend. All of this increase in diagnosis is not. I don't think it's a systemic problem. In fact, I think the more we can diagnose people and the more we can expand the spectrum of autism, the more people will understand why they react to certain things. And that gives them the opportunity to try and correct some of that behavior or manage some of that behavior. It's a great thing. But for 30 years, RFK has been trying to prove the vaccines are bad and they cause autism. And now he's in office telling you specifically, do not listen to the experts, do your own research, and then go from there. Let's jump in. I'll come back to some of this stuff. I want to go. I do want to cover this real quick. There was a shooting in Idaho this weekend, and it was fucking bizarre. It's in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which is in northern Idaho. I've lived not in Coeur d'Alene, but I've lived in Sandpoint, Spokane, and then north of Coeur d'Alene in Bonners Ferry, which is KKK country. This story came out, and on day one, every Republican, when the shooting started, there was Laura Loomer, Charlie Kirk, Benny Johnson. They were all scrambling, and they kept coming up with these names, and they were linking all of these people to, like, exactly this. Teen with Islamic State ties accused of planning attack on Coeur d'Alene churches, claims he was self-radicalized. They started pushing this out. This had nothing to do. You'll notice the date here. This is 2024. This had nothing to do with that shooting. But immediately, right-wing media started going out and linking this shooting to Islamic radicalists. Now, what happened is this person set a fire and then called in the fire department. And as they responded to a forest fire, from his position, he started shooting them. He was as a sniper, and he killed. I don't remember how many now have been killed. Chris said, "My favorite joke was AOC questioning RFK Jr." I did that. How did I do that? Amy Lynn said, "Experts were being transparent." Thank you. But the reason I wanted to show this is just to watch, like, what happens. We all knew. Listen, if you live in Coeur d'Alene and there is a shooting, specifically a mass shooting, a sniper-style shooting, you know who it is. Everybody knew who it was. Everybody knew who this person was going to be. But right-wingers, every single time now there's a shooting, they do not wait for details to come out. They just go and they poison the well. It turns out it is a 20-year-old kid. His name is Wes Rowley. Doesn't sound very Islamic to me. He's previously resided in New York, and he was born in the USSR. Doesn't sound very Islamic to me. Here you can see the staging area. This is as police go in. They're basically told, like, you can fire away. The suspect Rowley winds up killing himself. Rowley winds up killing himself. They never get to him. We may not. I don't know if there's any sort of what do you call that? What's the word I'm looking for? Where they leave like a note. What's that word I'm looking for? Somebody help me with that word. What is the word I'm looking for here? Manifesto. That's the word I'm looking for. Goddamn. I got out of there. You'll see here, even after they have identified who the shooter was, right with this right-wing account, which you can see 11,500 views, says pictures from the Idaho shooter's social media showing them posing with the weapon they used in the shooting. Shooter has been identified as Samir Al-Haid, a known IRGC asset that entered the nation illegally under the Biden regime. Check these community notes here. This is a comedian. His name is Sam Hyde, and he co-founded a sketch comedy group called the $1 Million Extreme. That's not who this is. But this went around social media, all over right-wing social media groups too. Now here's what we do know. This kid comes from a MAGA family. There are pictures of his family in MAGA gear. There are like deeply MAGA. I don't know if we have anything from him yet, but I did find this. This is a TikTok user named Becca Day. And this is part of the story that maybe it's part of the story, maybe it's not, but the media has largely ignored this.
Since the news isn't making the connection for everyone, I'll go ahead and do it. Yesterday was the anniversary of when firefighters in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, burnt down compounds, churches, and buildings that were owned by the Aryan Nation after the Aryan Nation in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, went bankrupt after they were sued by the Southern Poverty Law Center because 3 security guards engaged in an act of violence against 2 Native American people in which their vehicle was pew-pewed into, and the Aryan Nation security guards ripped them out of their car and beat them. Within these legal proceedings, the Aryan Nation went bankrupt, and that property owned by the Aryan Nation was given to the victims of that crime, the Native American victims. And 24 years ago yesterday was the day that the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department came in and used the churches and buildings that were owned and occupied by the Aryan Nations and burned them down as training exercises. And yesterday, when this pew-pewing occurred, it was the 24th anniversary of the fire department going in and burning down these sites. You can go anywhere and read about it. This absolutely did happen, and yesterday was the anniversary.
I haven't seen those, Mal. You should send them to me.
And there is a very long history about the Aryan Nation in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. But even just recently, you can go back.
That's Thomas Rousseau. That's who she's showing. That's the leader of Patriot Front. He's from Coeur d'Alene. I believe when they got caught, they were in northern Idaho as well when they got caught in their U-Haul.
I can see many instances where these groups have been emboldened, like last February when Patriot Front came to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho to try to cause a riot at a gay pride event, and they completely got away with it. I do want to talk about the actual perpetrator and more thoughts about this case shortly. I just wanted to share this. This is very clearly in my mind what the motive was.
Like I said, Benny said, Benny brought up Ruby Ridge, which happened in northern Idaho, not far from where I lived in Bonners Ferry. When I lived in Bonners Ferry, there's 3 groups of people in Bonners Ferry. It's pretty wild. And they're pretty equally distributed. You have the Mormons, the Mennonites, and the KKK. And the Mormons and the KKK never bothers them, or the Aryan Brotherhood, whatever they call themselves now. They didn't really ever bother the Mormons because the Mormons were like the last church in America to give black people the priesthood. And so there was kind of like this wink and a nod, like, we're kind of on the same team there. But yeah, if you're seeing like political violence in northern Idaho, it's always the Aryan Brotherhood. Now, I'm not trying to say that like all Republicans are members of the Aryan Brotherhood, but I do want to point out that some of your most prominent figures in Republican media are not reporting this. And initially they reported it as if it was somebody from the Muslim Brotherhood or from Iran. Isn't that weird how like early on, before we knew anything, they were willing to say these were like radical Muslim extremists. But now that we know that it's somebody from the Aryan Nation, probably, definitely from a MAGA family, now we have radio silence. And I'm not saying that you are a white nationalist, but what I am saying is that a lot of the people that you follow are. There is no question at this point that Charlie Kirk is a white nationalist, that Benny Johnson is a white nationalist. They just are. We've watched them for the last 3 weeks. They've gone completely mask off. They want mass deportations. They would like to remove Muslims from this country. They want an ethno-state. They're talking openly about white replacement theory. Some of the people that you listen to are absolutely white nationalists, and you should revisit some of the things that they say. And you should, at least when you listen to them with that knowledge in mind. Are they telling me something that is true, or are they trying to win me over to their side of white nationalism? Thurman said, thanks for always keeping it real, bro. You can't put value on the importance of what you're doing. I salute you. Thank you very much, my friend. I did miss these two as well. Caitlin said they should build the wall with Hillary's emails because no one can get over them. And Amy says, also, not one red state pays more than they take, where most blue do pay and more. I thought there was one red state when we covered it yesterday. Doesn't Texas pay more than they take in? I might be wrong about that. Let me know if I'm wrong about that. I think Texas puts out more money than they take in. Okay, that's enough for the Idaho shooting. We're just going to talk about the big, beautiful bill. It looks like it passed now, not without threats. This morning kicked off with Donald Trump saying, new poll, anybody I endorse beats Thomas Massie of Kentucky by 25 points. Get ready. Massie is a very bad guy. What makes Thomas Massie a very bad guy, do you think, to Donald Trump and Republicans? The answer is because he doesn't vote with Donald Trump. This is fascism. This is how every fascist leader acts. When somebody disagrees with them, you smear them, and you publicly send people to attack them. I would imagine if we go to Thomas Massie's Twitter page and we look at what he's posted. There's Massie there. Here he is. Here he is just talking about the Senate bill. Let's see what kind of reaction he gets. Trump said you're a very bad guy. First thing. Massie wants less mass deportation, even though that will achieve the goal he claims he wants. If only you put this much effort into writing legislation that does positive things. It's crazy you can learn from a simple bar graph. Not that bad, actually. I thought this was going to be worse. Is Trump losing his grip? Interesting. Not as bad as I thought. What he is putting is saying the one big beautiful bill would add more debt than recent laws. One beautiful bill would add more than the House one big beautiful bill. Significantly more, way more than the Chips and Science Act, way more than the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law of 2021, way more than the American Rescue Plan, way more than the CARES Act. All those things you guys opposed because it was going to increase spending. It's not even close. Not even fucking close. I mean, even the House bill was almost double American Rescue Plan. Now it is more than double. This is costing Americans money. I cannot believe that Republicans have figured out a way to lie to you folks, where they tell you that this is a fiscally responsible bill, that they are going to cut spending, that they're going to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. This is the biggest spending bill in the history of our country, and it's accompanied by decreasing revenues. It is the most fiscally irresponsible bill that has ever existed, and it's not fucking close. And it's the Republicans who did it, and the Republicans are cheerleading it. You guys, you're cheerleading it because I don't know. Are you too fucking stupid to, like, do you just not read? What is Massie's voting record? He's pretty in line with Trump. But Massie always votes against almost always votes against raising the debt. Jimmy said, what's the difference between a tire and 365 used condoms? One's a good year, the other's a great year. Jackie said, what did Cinderella say to Prince Charming? Want to see if it fits? Hi, Jen. Daniel says, thank you for correcting these MAGA logical fallacies. I think I got that. I'll update the number here in a minute, Jen. Here's a reporter. It's talking to Caroline Levitt. I think that's how you say it now. And Caroline Levitt was not prepared because Caroline Levitt, her job is to go out and lie. And unfortunately, what she has right now is a bill that's in front of everybody that they can read. And so a month ago, Caroline Levitt could lie. And she could say, that's not going to be in the bill. That's not going to be in the bill. That's not part of the bill. But now we have the bill, and she can't lie anymore. And here's what happens when she's confronted with something that she doesn't know. She lies about it and then runs away.
Go ahead. Thanks, Caroline. Does the president support this new...
What do you mean, what is Massie's voting record, please? You want me to tell you what Massie voted on, how he voted on every fucking bill his whole life? Google it, lady. What are we talking about? His record is 312 and 22. What's your voting record? Doesn't make sense, ma'am.
Measure in the big, beautiful bill that would impose steep new taxes on new wind and solar projects.
I believe you're referring to the...
Hey, redneck goat fucker, you've been here for like 2 hours. If it's boring, just leave, dog. And it's true. I actually think you're right. This is why the left can't get big audiences, because we cover real shit, not just like hyperbolic, get pissed at immigrant stuff. Yeah, I know. Right-wingers will always have a greater audience because most of what they do is make-believe. And most of what they do is just like tugging at your heartstrings and trying to make you upset at immigrants. But yeah, like you can go somewhere else.
The credits for wind and solar projects.
No,
And
we're talking about the new tax. There's a new tax that it's estimated would add 10 to 20% to the cost of any new wind and solar projects that start after this year.
Again, I don't want to comment on the specifics of provisions, but I'm sure the president will speak on that directly. Again, this is an ongoing process. The president continues to be very much engaged with the leadership in both the Senate and the House to get this bill back to his desk.
Imagine being the party who is so mad at climate change that you increase the prices on renewable energy for no fucking reason. You want renewable energy? It's going to cost you. All right. Renewable energy is great for Americans. If you have it was a Republican in here in the chat yesterday that said they lived off grid and they use solar. Yeah, they don't have to pay an electric bill. And so naturally, this administration, because they want you to pay an electric bill and they want you buying that big, beautiful oil and that big, beautiful natural gas and that clean coal, they're just mad at you that you figured out a way not to pay an electric company. And so they're going to add a tax onto it.
Ask for that provision because the National Building Trades Union is saying that it's the equivalent of terminating more than 1,000 Keystone XL pipeline projects. Is that something that would concern him?
Well, the president spoke on this yesterday in his interview, and he said he understands that legislators want to protect jobs in their communities and in their districts. And so he understands why some of them are against this provision, but he also understands why people want the provision. So again, this is an ongoing deliberation and discussion, and the president is engaged in this very much.
Yeah, no, non-answer. You know what he did yesterday when he answered that question? He also didn't answer it. This is going to slash jobs. Like the Infrastructure Act added a bunch of jobs. Part of the reason that we were able to still see economic growth, one of the big reasons, is because the infrastructure bill created a lot of jobs, and they were long-term jobs, and they were union jobs. They were high-paying jobs. They were jobs that come with benefits. And now, just because this is what Trump did in his first term too, he's such a petty little bitch that he doesn't look at like his predecessor and say, did this work or did it not work? He says, did my predecessor put this in place? If so, get rid of it. And so he's very comfortable cutting tons of construction jobs, union construction jobs, just because he doesn't like that Joe Biden passed something, which, by the way, had bipartisan support. It was very popular. In fact, it's so popular. The infrastructure bill was so popular, and the Chips and Science Act was so popular that Donald Trump has done nothing this entire term but take credit for the jobs, the manufacturing jobs gained from those bills, from the construction jobs gained from those bills. He'll sit up on stage and he'll brag about these new jobs and these new projects that came by way of that bill, and then he cuts it because Joe Biden signed it into law. That's how petty we've become. That's how petty you guys have become too. And that's what you support now. You just support anything that's not Biden, that's not Obama. It's very fucking confusing for us. And it's going to be very fucking confusing when Donald Trump dies. Because you're going to have this power vacuum. And you're going to have Vivek Ramaswamy, and you're going to have Ron DeSantis, and you're going to have J.D. Vance, and you're going to have the Trump kids, and you're going to have all these MAGA people who are just waiting for Trump to die because they think they're going to get that type of loyalty from you. And you guys are all going to divide, and then you're going to be real fucking confused, and you're not going to know how to find real answers. Because what you're doing now is just anything the left says, you think the opposite. Anything Donald Trump says is true. It's going to be a very confusing time for you. You're going to have to start using your brains. And I don't know. I don't know. Do we have like, I don't know. Can you stick one of those like dusters in your ear and those like air compressors and blow off the cobwebs? A lot of you haven't used your brains since 2015. You've just been on autopilot repeating dumb shit. And when Donald Trump's gone, it's going to be really fucking confusing for you guys. You're going to be real lost, and you're going to be very confused. Don't worry, we'll be here for you. You can come here. Here's Scott Bessent responding to Elon Musk's tweet, which basically said that this bill is a massive handout, that it's a disaster, that it will increase debt spending, and it doesn't do anything to address spending at all. In fact, it increases spending. This bill increases spending and brings in less revenue. And every day, one of you comes in here and says, oh, we're cutting spending, waste, fraud, and abuse. No, you're not. You're increasing spending. Here's Scott Bessent responding to Elon Musk.
Taking advantage of the system.
Sorry, let me read these first real quick. Why didn't the cannibal eat the clown? He tasted funny. That's my mom's favorite joke. D-Style Boxing said the big billionaire bill. And Thurman, I think I read that one. Monique said, what's the worst thing you can hear from Willie Nelson after giving a blowjob? I'm not Willie Nelson. Why can't you have hemorrhoids and be Mormon? Because you have to be a perfect a-hole to be a member. I had hemorrhoids when I was Mormon because I was riding a bike too much. Jamar said, motherfucking aggravating goddamn assholes. It's kind of a joke, but absolutely true. Bradley said, my dad died because he couldn't remember his blood type. He kept insisting we be positive, but it's just so hard without him. Jessica says, how do you get Trump to change a light bulb? Tell him Biden installed it. That's a good point. That is a very good point. All right, here's Scott Bessent.
We're going to put in a work requirement, and we're just trying to get the levels back to where we were pre-COVID, which I don't think anybody disagrees with.
Elon Musk says this. It's obvious with this insane spending bill, increases the debt ceiling by $5 trillion. We live in a one-party country, the Porky Pig Party. Time for a new political party that actually cares about the people. And he's probably going to start one if this passes. What's your reaction? You guys famously tangled in the White House.
I admire Elon's leadership on rockets. I will take care of the finances.
So do you feel as though he's...
That's pretty good comeback, honestly. You know what sucks about Scott Bessent is that I kind of like him, if we're being honest. Like, he's lying all the time. But I do, like, compared to Elon, he's palatable. It kind of sucks. And Scott Bessent knows that he's lying to all of you guys, too. But I wish Scott Bessent was part of a better administration, because I do actually think he's kind of smart.
Says the $5 trillion adding to the deficit. You don't agree?
I don't agree at all. Let me tell you why. Because this bill will set off growth like we've never seen before. The CBO projections only project 1.8% per year growth, which is substantially below what we saw in President Trump's first term. And I think we are going to see big acceleration here. And once you see the growth trajectory change to an upward bias, the bill more than pays for itself. You know, we could be in surplus.
So let's talk about the trade.
There's literally no economist that says that. But I want to talk about this again. There is no evidence at all that this cutting taxes is going to increase GDP. This is annual growth of real gross domestic product from 1990 to 2023. So you have a tax cut, the Bush tax cuts. Look what happened to GDP after the Bush tax cuts. Right here is 04, where he entered off. Wait, he'd been in when he got elected in 2000, right? We have increase in and then we have the Bush tax cuts, and then they decrease. We peak at 3.9, 3.5, 2.8, 2%. Then of course 2008 kicks in. We're fucked. Here's Obama. If you look at 08, 2.7% GDP, 1.6, 2.3, 2.1, 2.5, 2.9, 1.8. Trump comes in, we get 2.5. 2018 is really when the tax cuts kick in. It's we see 3% GDP growth, and then it just goes right back down. Then we're back at 2.5, and obviously this is a COVID year. There is no evidence. Like, look at all these other years of GDP growth. These were not tax cut growth. We've had historically much higher GDP growth. Tax cuts do not lead to higher GDP growth. There's no evidence. Like, just looking from 2004 till 2020, if you didn't know what years those were, you wouldn't know when these tax cuts happened. You would have no idea. There's no evidence that this spurs economic growth. You know what I mean? Like the people that say, in fact, you've heard it on the floor of the Senate yesterday a bunch, that, and I'll get to some of those clips. They say, like, this spurred some of the greatest economic growth our country has ever seen. No, it didn't. 3% GDP growth. It's 0.1% better than the year before the election. In 2003, we had 3.9. In 99, we had almost 5%. We were well over 4% from 97 to 2000. These are not historic numbers. It's weird to me that Republicans talk about this like they did something great. It was average at best. At best, they kept the status quo with these tax cuts. There is absolutely no evidence that this exploded growth. It didn't explode wages. The only thing that exploded was like individual net worth, and that overwhelmingly went to the top 1%. Here is, where did that go? Oh, it's trying to play. Hold on one second. Here's Mo Brooks, former Republican congressman, saying, and it's amazing. One of the things that I like seeing is people who have left Congress, they almost never agree with Donald Trump. It's really interesting. The only people that ever seem to agree and are in lockstep with Trump are those who are currently in power, who know that they have to be in lockstep with him to maintain their power. Here's Mo Brooks siding with Elon.
Of national defense being implicated, given what's transpired in the last several weeks, very foreboding. Congressman, Democratic Senator Mark Warner from Virginia posted to X, quote, "I'm tired of my Republican colleagues telling me in private how they feel about this terrible bill. It's time to vote like it." Do you sense this trend will continue, as he's suggesting that Republicans find it difficult to speak up publicly against Trump? And is that making Trump more powerful at the expense of rolling back the power of Congress?
Listen to the numbers he's about to cite, because these, again, this is a Republican. This is a fiscal conservative. Listen to the numbers he's about to cite. You won't hear this from Republicans in office. You will only hear this from Republicans who don't have an incentive to lick Donald Trump's asshole.
Well, what we sorely need and are lacking in Washington, D.C. right now, are Republicans who can explain to the president in a reasonable and convincing fashion that what he is pushing is bad for our country. And that means it's also bad for him and his legacy, to the extent he cares about his legacy. And we don't have enough congressmen and senators who are willing to stand up and do that. I remember the first time I was summoned to the White House in 2017, and the issue was the repeal of Obamacare. Mm-hmm. And we absolutely were not going to vote for legislation that was going to increase the insurance premiums on working people by another 20% over and above the increases that they were having to pay because of Obamacare. And we stood our ground. Eventually, we reached an agreement on different legislation. And that's the situation that we're looking at today. We've got a choice between bad and worse. Well, if you vote down bad and worse, then you know what? You might actually come up with something good. So I hope that people across America will heed what Elon Musk has said. And I agree with Elon Musk. This is a horrible piece of legislation. It's good if you're a debt junkie, but if it's horrible if you're an American who's going to have to pay that debt at some point in the future. And right now it's $110,000 for every man, woman, and child. Can you pay it? A lot of Americans can't.
That's what it costs. That's our debt. When you break down our current debts, $110,000. Each one of us owes $110,000, and this is going to massively increase that. Again, when you allow people to speak freely, when they are not part of the dumbest fascist regime in the history of the world, when they are not part of MAGA and they are not beholden to MAGA, you hear them. They're being honest. These are fiscal conservatives. These are people who want less spending. These are people who want a balanced budget. These are people who want to pay down the debt. But when you're part of MAGA, you're not really allowed to do that. You can say it on the campaign trail, but as soon as you're in office, we are not cutting spending. And not only are we not cutting spending, we are going to decrease revenues, because we made a lot of promises to our billionaire friends, and we got to throw some more money in their pockets. Here is Donald Trump being asked about Elon Musk, and if this is not fascism, explain to me what it is. This is Elon Musk and Donald Trump, who were just the best of friends not that long ago. Now Trump is talking about deporting Elon Musk.
The rest. We got a lot of hostages back, but we're going to talk about that.
If you can't hear that, what the reporter asked is, there have been a lot of talks about deporting Elon Musk. Are you going to deport Elon Musk?
I don't know. I think we'll have to take a look.
We'll have to take a look. It's an American citizen. And it's not, this is all the proof you need that deportations are not principled. If deportations were principled, then by the same reason that you would deport Elon Musk, which is that he was here illegally on his visa, he was lying about what he was doing here, you would have to deport Melania. She got an Einstein visa. Do you know what an Einstein visa is? That's for people who are, who are like great athletes or people who have great scientific discoveries or great academics. It's for like exceptional people. I don't know. Melania was like the third best prostitute at the club that she worked at. I don't know if that warrants an Einstein visa. We know that, right? Like that's what Melania was. She literally worked at a club that like set up women with like rich sugar daddies. She was legitimately like, I don't know. I feel like that fits the definition of prostitution to me. Then what it feels like it. And I don't really care, honestly. It doesn't bother me. I think if you want to do sex work, do sex work. Good for you. But this shows you that it's never principled with these. This is why we call him a fascist. He'll consider deporting Elon, but he's not going to consider deporting Melania, right? It's never going to be equal.
You might have to put Doge on Elon. You know Doge.
Show me evidence that Melania speaks 5 languages. She barely speaks English. What's the evidence that Melania speaks 5 languages? I've heard people say it. You ever heard her speak 5 languages? I've only ever heard her speak English, and she does that poorly. And she's been here for a long time. I don't think there's any evidence that Melania speaks 5 languages, but there's a lot of people who speak 5 languages who I would not qualify for an Einstein visa.
Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible? He gets a lot of subsidies, Peter. But Elon's very upset that the EV mandate is going to be terminated.
Melania was not a supermodel. She was not. She legitimately, she was a model. She worked at a club that set people up with rich men. That's where she worked. She wasn't out there like on the cover of Vogue. She didn't get famous for her modeling until she married Donald Trump. She got famous after that. Nobody knew who she was. She was not a famous person. She was just hot. That was it. And he had money, and so she married him clearly for the money. She fucking hates this dude. Everybody around her says that she can't stand him. You never see her. She won't hold his hand. You could see videos of her slapping his hand away. Look at the difference when on the tarmac. You won't ever find a picture of Melania giving Donald Trump a kiss on the cheek with the amount of vigor that she did it with Gavin Newsom or Justin Trudeau. It's well known that before Donald Trump even ran for office, that Melania's boyfriend lived in Trump Tower. You can look this up. His name is Hank Seamers. There was reporting on this long before Trump was in office that Melania Trump had a live-in boyfriend in Trump Tower named Hank Seamers. This is not a legitimate relationship. This was a relationship. They had a baby. She gets his money. She stays quiet. She gets to do what she wants. This is a totally arranged relationship. And you guys do like what you do with Trump. They just lie to you about how great she is and you believe it. She's not an impressive person. I'm sorry. If you think she's beautiful, great. Like, I think she's a beautiful woman. In fact, some of the things I've heard her say, I think she's a much better person than Donald Trump. She seems to at least have some empathy and some compassion for people. And I think Melania likely would be a much more palatable figure if she wasn't married to the world's biggest douchebag. But she's not impressive. Stop with that shit.
And you know what? When you look at it, not everybody wants an electric car. I don't want an electric car.
I don't want an electric car. Oh. A month ago, this silly bitch was on using the White House grounds to tell all of you to go buy a Tesla. Are we forgetting that? And now today he's like, I don't want an electric car. Not everybody wants an electric car. They're not that good. And then I could have played the rest of the clip. He's like, we could have a hydrogen car, but those blow up. He's a weird guy. This guy stands for nothing. He has no principles. Everything is for sale. Everything is in the moment. It's just all vibes with this dude. Jelly? What am I jelly of? I do not want to marry Melania Trump. I'm not interested in a 60-year-old woman as a partner. I'm not jealous of that at all. All right. After all that, then Trump threw out a tweet, which we know is written by his fluffer. But here's basically what Trump was trying to say. Elon Musk knew long before he so strongly endorsed me for president that I was strongly against the EV mandate. Go find me evidence of that. By the way, go find me evidence that Donald Trump was like against the EV mandate when Elon was campaigning for him. He might have said at some point he was against an EV mandate. It wasn't part of his campaign. He wasn't out there campaigning on ending the EV mandate. He just talked about California, how California already had like an EV mandate, and I guess if you're talking about California, all right, fair enough. He was against the EV mandate. I take it back. I was thinking the EV credit. It is ridiculous and was always a major part of my campaign. Electric cars are fine, but not everyone should be forced to own one. Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history. Now, we talked about this. Elon Musk is the biggest welfare queen. In fact, I have a hoodie somewhere that says welfare queen. He gets more subsidies than any human being in history, more government handouts than any human in history. Remember when we were all saying this before the election and Republicans were like, no, by far, without subsidies. Elon would probably have to close up shop and head back home to South Africa. No more rocket launches, satellites, or electric car production, and our country would save a fortune. Well, then why don't we just fucking do it, Donald? If it would save our country a fortune and we don't need it, why are you still giving him subsidies then? What are we doing? Take the subsidies away. Where's the principles here? He's cool taking Elon's money and giving him subsidies and giving him access to everything our government has. Every bit of data that our government has, Elon Musk now has access to. And a month later, he's like, why are we giving this guy subsidies? I don't know. Why are we doing it? Take them away then, please. Why was it crazy for us to tell you to take away his subsidies a month ago, but now you're on our side? And you guys are now on our side. It's unbelievable how often we will make an argument and then you guys will argue with us, and then a month later you're on our side pretending like you're making that argument for the first time. Perhaps we should have Doge take a good hard look at this. Big money to be saved. Yeah, that would be great. Is it in the big beautiful bill? No, it's not. It's all handouts in the big beautiful bill. Here is Elizabeth Warren. She posted this graphic earlier. This is from the CBO. This is every state in the country and how many people will lose health care in your state. Now, remember, Republicans have told you what I consider a 50-year-old woman. 50 is good. Yeah, 50 is all right. How many people in your state will lose health care? I live in Arizona. 365,000 people will lose health care under this bill. Now, remember, the Republicans told you that this is all just people who are on health care fraudulently. Do you think a single one of these states could show those numbers? That they could prove that anywhere near those numbers were fraudulent? I know in Arizona, I think the number is right around 100 that they have found. So we're just 365,884 away from finding the waste, fraud, and abuse. Florida, almost 2 million people. Where's California? Yeah, Florida, 2 million people. California, 2.3 million people. Texas, 1.6 million people. Where's New York? 1 million people in New York. How's Massachusetts doing? Massachusetts, not bad. 326,000. This is not waste, fraud, and abuse. I got health care just recently. You got government health care? Brian, shut the fuck. Guys, Brian's here fighting for his life. Let's show you Brian. Brian wants to argue controlled demolition again. Where is this, Jen? Brian, you're a fucking psycho, man. You've been commenting on every YouTube video I have. Here you are in Jen's DMs. It's very easy to scream at Brian rather than debate him. LOL, a guy who denies dead 9/11 firefighters' credible story, shames others. I love how she's not responding to you, you fucking psycho. This is what happens when you tell a conservative man no thank you. These are Jen's DMs. These are unresponded to DMs from Brian. These are unresponded.
That's actually not my DMs. Those are different ones. But I can send you screenshots of my DMs. That's his crying in the comments of the live.
Oh, okay.
But here I can send you the screenshots from when he hasn't. So he's been responding to me for like 2 days with no response.
If I go to YouTube right now and I check like our notifications, yep, there he is. 1 hour ago, he commented on one of my videos. 3 hours ago, 4 hours ago. Bro, let it go. 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours.
There's my DMs with no response.
You goddamn psycho. What's wrong with you? Oh, there's the Here's the DMs. Yeah, you fucking psycho. Knock it off. Jen, you feel free to ban him whenever you want. I don't give a shit. It's kind of funny, but if you get tired of it, just go ahead and ban him whenever you want.
I mean, I just ignore it. It's kind of wild. Only commenting on the same video of Mr. Railroad.
It's still weird. It's still weird that you're commenting on that video. Let it go, Chief.
I mean, no one was even making that argument, which is hilarious. So, but I don't know if you saw. I was tagging you in something in our DMs unrelated to Brian. So
Brian's gonna be Brian. Sorry, I sussed up on my phone. Brian is gonna be, AI is really gonna help Brian because there will be something that will be forced to sit there and listen to him. He's gonna have an AI girlfriend.
Brian's like antibiotic or medication resistant herpes. He just keeps coming back.
Yeah, he's a new strain of COVID every day.
Yes, Brian, we were born born before 9/11. I'm glad you think that we're young. So.
Oh, by the way, Yuri, thank you. Yuri warned us, said they're all grifters. Now send RTP $148. Thank you, Yuri.
I mean, that's a great time for you guys to. We've got about an hour of the show left. If you guys still want to get into the what are we calling it, a contest or?
Yeah, best joke.
Like
best joke gets anything from our merch store.
Yeah, so it's $5 enters you into the contest for.
And for an extra $5, Jen will sleep in it before she sends it to you.
No, she won't. But
for the show.
So yeah, so we have about an hour left of the show. If you haven't subscribed to us already, please do that. And if you're not a weirdo like Brian, you can come up and send me a DM on Discord, JenDub1, and I can bring you out to talk to Jane in real time. What do you call a bear with no teeth?
A gummy bear.
Yep, that's it.
Yes.
I feel like I've said that one to you before.
I don't know, but that was off the top of my head. I like that one.
Yeah. All right. If you're visually impaired and lose your glasses or contacts, you can use ketchup in a pinch. It's because hindsight is 2020.
Brian, Amy said, be a better capitalist and pay to be heard. Don't be a little leech there in the comments, begging people to listen to you. If you want people to listen to you, do what everybody else does. Be a capitalist. I'll read your comments, Brian. They just cost you $1 a piece. Throw them in there. We're happy to have you.
It's $2.
$2 a piece.
Yeah.
Thank you. Charlie, there's super chats, there's PayPal, there's Venmo. Above my head, there's the Venmo, the Cash App, and the PayPal, and then super chats you can send through YouTube. All right, moving on after Elizabeth Warren. I don't know. Sometimes this does feel like talking to a wall. Like, I don't know what to tell all of you. And it does feel weird now that this bill is already passed. But I think we need to keep reminding Republicans that they voted for the worst fucking bill ever. Here's Fox News. This is a graphic on Fox News. Like, they can't even spin it. This is a Fox News poll. The one big beautiful bill. 60% of America opposes it. 60%. 38% of America can't read. I think that's what we're learning. RTP's about to be paid. He doesn't have money like that. He's he told Jen yesterday that he recorded our debate from yesterday and he was going to use it to launch his own YouTube channel, and yet here he is begging for attention from you guys again today. It seems like he didn't start his own YouTube channel. Here's Stephen Miller, and I apologize in advance for any dryness that any of you may feel after having to listen to Stephen Miller. It's not my fault. It is his fault, but I'm just apologizing for you that you may want to find some humidity, because this is a 2-minute and 43-second clip of Stephen Miller bragging about the world's worst bill.
I've spent my entire life in the conservative movement. Since I was a kid in high school, working, dreaming of the day where we could have a piece of legislation like what exists right now, Sean.
Since he was in high school, Stephen Miller has been dreaming of the day that billionaires would get the biggest tax break in history. It's all he could think about in high school. All of Stephen Miller's dreams are coming true. Our debt will explode, and billionaires will keep more of their money, and will fund more mass deportations. He's just a fucking Nazi. Like, he is, by the way. This guy's like legitimately a Nazi. He's 100% a white nationalist, and he's unapologetic about it. He's admitted it. He's like, his best bud in college was what's his name? Richard Spencer. They were like just best buds over there. Since high school, this Nazi's been like, I've been dreaming of this bill, and it's finally here. If a guy who's been a Nazi since high school is saying this bill's great, I think you guys should think about what that means for you.
What President Trump has brought to the precipice of passage. Each and every one of the individual titles in this bill would be considered one of the great achievements in the history of the conservative movement. The title, for example, building the missile defense shield for the United States of America, Sean, so we can be safe. Our children.
Is the missile defense shield in the big beautiful bill? Did I miss this somehow? Is it in there? Does anybody know? How did we miss that? My voice is going to shit. Sounds like I'm going through puberty again. All right, it's $25 billion for the Golden Dome missile. This is so stupid. It's in there. I didn't know it was in there. That's so fucking stupid.
Can be safe from foreign adversaries.
The dirty Republicans have literally screwed the red states. Why are we spending $25 billion on a fucking? By the way, we just saw it. It's not impenetrable. We just saw Iran didn't seem to have much of a problem getting through that, did they? Iran seemed to be able to cut right through that missile defense system.
In this growing era of intercontinental ballistic missiles as nations race for supremacy. The section on this bill enshrining border and homeland security, this is the most far-reaching border security proposal, homeland security proposal in my lifetime. Sean, not just my lifetime, going back to Eisenhower.
That's true. And what benefit do we get from it? There will be less Hispanic people here. What other benefit do we get? Man. It's going to cost us $50 billion a year. $50 billion just removed from the American economy. But at least you won't have to see those pesky Hispanics around anymore.
Going back to since we've had conversations about the border, Sean, I take this seriously. I've stood by the families whose kids have been murdered by illegal aliens. We made them a promise. Most importantly, the American people voted to fulfill that promise in the last election. This bill fulfills it. It is the largest tax cut and reform in American history.
True. Biggest handout to billionaires in the history of our country. Nobody's ever taken more money from poor people and given it to rich people. Incredible stuff. Reverse Robin Hood. Those poor rich people, they had it too tough. We better take insurance and food from poor people and give it to the rich.
No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. 100%.
Not true. Not true. There's absolutely tax on overtime. If you make over $150,000, you are going to be taxed on overtime. And by the way, the tax will still come out. You will still be taxed on overtime, but up to $150,000, you could write off $12,500 of that. You'll get a tax credit for $12,500. There is no tax on tips. It's only cash tips. How many of you actually, like, what percentage of the time do you do a cash tip? I would say 80% of the time my tip comes off of a credit card. I don't carry cash very often. Most Americans don't carry cash. This is cash tips. This is just like jacking off Donald Trump while lying about what this provision is going to do. Can you imagine that you say, this bill is good for everybody? Why? Well, it gives rich people a massive tax cut. Well, what does it do for the middle class? Well, if you get cash tips, you'll get a break, and some of you will get a break on overtime, and that's it. Cool. How are we going to pay for this? We're also going to use tariffs, which are a massive tax on the middle class. That's going to increase your prices. There is nothing in this bill for any of you. You can criticize me all you want. You can talk shit in the comments all you want. What none of you can do, because we tried already, we brought one person up, and anybody's welcome to come up anytime, except for dipshit Brian, who just wants to do 9/11 conspiracy theories. Come tell me how this benefits you. I'm begging you. Somebody come tell me what benefit this gives to the middle class. Please. I just want to hear it.
Expensing for new factories. Think about that. Every single business owner with a dream of manufacturing in America can deduct 100% of that cost.
Okay, cool. That's what, less than 1% of American citizens? Nobody. How many people are starting manufacturing businesses? How many people are capable? How many people have the money to start a manufacturing business? You know who has money to start a manufacturing business? Rich people. That's it. It's another tax. This is another tax break for rich people. How the fuck is this going to help any of you? Unless you have enough money to start manufacturing, this doesn't help you either. Stop me when one of these things is going to help people in the middle class.
To make the American dream come true here in the United States. Here's another one for you, Sean. The largest welfare reform in American history. Work requirements on food stamps. Work requirements on Medicaid. The two largest welfare programs that exist. And now we are attaching work requirements to those programs.
Which means there will be people who are unable to work who will be kicked off of those programs. Some people can't work. That's the reality that we live in. Some people just cannot work. So the people who need it the most are going to be hurt the most. Yeah, but at least there'll be a couple people who aren't working. You can go watch videos. Most people on food stamps and most people on Medicaid also already work. The overwhelming majority of them already work. There's already, and in some states there's already like work requirements. This is not it's not massive reform. In fact, by their own projections, they have to cut $800 billion from Medicaid. The rosiest of projections by Republicans say that about a tenth of that. And that's the rosiest. And that's including people who are here illegally. That includes people who they feel are able-bodied. The rosiest projection they came up with, which again isn't even backed by data, says like 10% of that $800 billion they can save, about $80 billion. So most of that money that they are saying that they are going to save is going to pull people off of the Medicaid rolls. Now, here's the dirty secret. Here's what they do. They're simply making it far more difficult for you to get SNAP and Medicaid, even if you qualify for it. They're going to they limit the amount of places you can go. They in a lot of states they're going to make you go and do it in person. They're going to make the system complicated. They're going to add extra steps. They're going to add extra requirements. And they've done this. This is how Republicans always do it. They tell you that they're going after fraud, and then they just make it really difficult for regular people to get on the programs. That's it. They just add all these extra rules and regulations that make it more difficult to get assistance. And many of these people, like I said, like Walmart, these are Walmart employees. that need Medicaid and SNAP because Walmart won't pay them a living wage. And so what is it that you're saying to, let's just look at Walmart. The Waltons, who own it, will pay less in taxes. Walmart, who already pays virtually nothing in taxes, will get a decrease in their taxes. And the employees that work for Walmart, who will not see their wages increase, will also lose the government assistance that is keeping them alive, that Walmart trains them to go out and apply for. All so that some rich people can get a tax break. I just want you guys to put this in perspective because I understand, like I sit through Republican lives all the time and I hear you guys say this and I can resonate with you. When you guys say, why is it a bad thing that people who shouldn't be on SNAP or shouldn't be on Medicaid, why is it a bad thing to take them off? It's not. It's a good thing. But if you taking these people off of assistance removes other people who need that assistance, then I think that's bad. I don't think people who are doing it the right way should suffer because you want to punish almost nobody who is able to get on SNAP and Medicaid the wrong way. And that's the big lie that Republicans tell you. And frankly, it's also the big lie that all of these people tell themselves. I'm going to show you some clips from John Toon here in a minute. But this is just justification. And the Republicans in Congress that get lobbied all the time by these billionaires say to them like, hey, we're with you. We don't want it. We need a tax break. But look at all these people who are getting free money. Let's just take it from them. And they never think through these policies. They never look at how these policies wind up playing out. And what happens, 100%, nobody disagrees. The effects of this bill is middle-class Americans will pay more. Poor people will pay more. Rich people will get a massive tax break. Every economic analysis of the big, beautiful bill is the exact same in terms of like who will benefit. The 1% will get all the benefit. The middle class, you guys, all of you guys here, things will be more expensive. You will have less benefits. Effectively, you will pay more in taxes, and poor people will also pay more in taxes. Why the fuck do rich people need more money? They have never been richer. The rich have never had more money. And the fact that they've never had more money and they're not taking that capital and reinvesting it and creating more good-paying jobs, does that not tell you that if we give them more money, they won't do it? They will not invest in more jobs. This will not increase wages. It didn't do it the first time. The Bush tax cuts didn't do it, and the Trump tax cuts didn't do it. They never fucking do it. You guys are so goddamn stupid that we have to fucking keep doing this. Why? Why do you keep listening to this? How the fuck are we ever supposed to be a great country if you guys are too fucking chicken shit and dipshit to read a fucking bill? Read a fucking analysis. 100% of the economists tell you this will go all to the wealthy and you will get fucked in the ass. And Donald Trump goes, and you go, 100%. Zero economists say that this will be good for middle-class people and poor people. 0 fucking %. How fucking stupid are you? Honest to God, how fucking dumb. I could sit here all day and every fucking one of you could come up here and explain it, and we would leave just like the first guest did. He quit. He didn't have an answer. He had to admit that, yeah, this is just for rich people. You'll all do the same thing. And I'm mad as hell. Yeah, I'm emotional. I'm an emotional roller coaster. Get fucking used to it. But I honestly can't believe it. It would be one thing if it was 50-50. It would be one thing if it was 60-40, 70-30, 80-20, 90-10. It's 100-0. 100% of economists agree this is bad for the middle class of America. 100% of economists agree that this benefits a small minority of rich people. And that's it. There's not a single right to left. Every right wing, Cato Institute, Heritage Foundation, you name it. Every right-wing think tank who, by the way, campaigned to get Donald Trump elected, every fucking one of them says the same thing. This will increase our deficit spending. It will not be paid for, and it overwhelmingly will help rich people. Scott Bessent has been asked under oath, can you cite a single economist who says what you're saying? And he said, yeah, Art Laffer. And if you guys think that Art Laffer is a legitimate economist, I mean, I guess you get what's coming to you. This is going to hurt all of you. This screws the future for your children. If you have grandparents, this will hurt them. If you have parents, this will hurt them. It will hurt you. I played this story yesterday. Ben Askren, a multimillionaire, needed a double lung transplant, and he had insurance, and they rejected it. And Ben Askren, a multimillionaire in the United States of America, had to rely on other multimillionaires giving him money to get a double lung transplant just so he could live. He's 40. He's got children. I cannot believe that you guys sit by and watch all of your power, all of your collectively bargain, you just hand it off like it's fucking nothing to a goddamn, this is legitimately a Nazi. And this is legitimately a Nazi who wants other Nazis to have all the money and rule as Nazis. I know you think maybe I'm kidding. Let me tell you about Stephen Miller. In leaked emails when he worked for Breitbart in 2015 to 2016, we obtained over 900 emails, and they were analyzed by the Southern Poverty Law Center that they show Miller routinely shared links to white national websites like Vidare and American Renaissance with other Breitbart editors while he was a Senate aide and later when he worked on the Trump campaign. He was directing other people to go to white nationalist websites, Nazi websites. He recommended The Camp of Saints, which is a dystopian novel, which is like the white nationalist Bible. He urged the other people at Breitbart to go and read it, and he urged Breitbart employees to recommend it to their friends. When he was the Trump administration advisor the first time around, he was the architect of the Muslim ban. No Muslims in America, he said. He was the architect of separating families at the border. In fact, Donald Trump had to part with Stephen Miller on that because it was too harsh. He endorses eugenics. He constantly praises the Immigration Act of 1924. And if you don't know about the Immigration Act of 1924, this was a law that the eugenicists, the Nazis in our country, the Henry Fords, the people who were sympathetic to Hitler, and by the way, the 1924 Immigration Act was celebrated by Hitler. He praised the 1924 Immigration Act. And Stephen Miller consistently praises that. He's constantly referencing the 1924 Immigration Act. It was designed to restrict immigration from any nation that wasn't predominantly white. He was obsessed and he was vocal, and he went on TV every day crying that the Confederate flag, by the way, the battle flag of the Confederate Army who seceded from the United States and attempted to overthrow the United States, the greatest attack on America in the history of our country, the enemy of literally the enemy of the United States, the Confederates, he always, every time somebody says we should remove Confederate flags, he's the guy on the front saying we have to preserve our culture. What the fuck culture does a Confederate battle flag hold for American citizens? That's our culture? Every time they want to take down a statue of a Confederate general, who again, they were the enemies of our country, they perpetrated the greatest attack on America in the history of our country, he sides with them. What do we have to do? What do we have to do to convince you that you guys are literally following Nazi? And now we're building concentration camps. And now those concentration camps are targeted at one specific group of people, Hispanic people. He's an actual Nazi. He's in charge of Trump's policy. He clearly has a very influential role. The Nazis didn't know they were wrong either. They all got sold by propaganda too. You know what the Nazi government did? They shut down free speech. They went after every outlet who criticized them. They literally shut down newspapers, radio shows. Anybody who was critical of them, they threatened them. They whipped them into submission. And then they went around and they started making propaganda videos about Jewish folks. Remember that? Do you guys remember You remember Joseph Goebbels? By the way, he looks exactly like Joseph Goebbels. And what are we doing? What are we doing? Are we doing propaganda videos? Oh, America would never do propaganda videos. We would never do anything like that. We would never use the government to do propaganda videos, would we? Nah, fuck no, we wouldn't do that. No, we wouldn't have on our Department of Homeland Security, we wouldn't have videos of immigrants being rounded up and detained. No, we wouldn't do that, would we? Wouldn't do any of that, would we? Well, he's literally doing it. They're doing the exact fucking playbook. How are we still denying? This is a Nazi. This is a white nationalist. This is a eugenicist. What more does it take? You're either a Nazi or you're not. There's not a lot of wiggle room here, is there? Well, I'm not a Nazi. Okay, well, you're just doing all the Nazi stuff? Yeah, but this time it's different. This time we're like a good version of the Nazis. Former Breitbart editor Katie McHugh, right-winger. I don't know if you know about Breitbart. Breitbart is right-wing, and they ran this guy out because he was too much of a Nazi. She described Miller as being obsessed with xenophobic ideas. She called him a case study in radicalization. And he's directing the policy. He's the guy that the Trump administration keeps sending out to Fox News to argue in favor of these ideas. They're his ideas. Why am I so miserable? Because I don't want to be a Nazi. I don't like being in a country. You guys would all be, by the way, turn this to 1932. I'd be that person, be like, hey, we're rounding up the Jews. Let's not do that. Why are we doing anti-Jewish propaganda on the radio waves? Why are there cartoons where the Jews are depicted as demonic everywhere? And you'd be like, oh, dude, fuck, you don't like it here? Just move, dude. What's your problem, dude? Why are you so mad, dude? Because I don't want to be part of this. I thought we were better than this. Honest to God, I did. I thought we were past all this shit. We fought World War II. I thought we fought against the Nazis. When I grew up in America, I'm 39 years old. My whole life, I thought the Nazis were the bad guys. I didn't know they were the good guys. Apparently, they're the good guys now. We're just copying them, damn near word for word. You had the Madison Square Garden rally for Trump. They literally dimmed the lights, did the red lights at the same place as the Nazi rally in, was it 29, I think? I don't remember what year that Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden was. I just didn't know we were the Nazis. That's what I'm upset about. I didn't know. I thought we opposed that. I didn't know we were this racist. I thought we had come a long way in America. I thought we had passed all this shit. I thought that, like, when I got to be this age, I thought that our country would be less racist than it was when I was a kid, and it's significantly more racist. It's cool to be racist now. The biggest right-wing content creators on this planet are openly talking about ethno-states. They're openly talking about removing people who aren't white Christians. I didn't know we were here. I've been careful about, like, Charlie Kirk. Well, he says some things that are like white nationalist adjacent, and you're like, he's not a white nationalist. And now he is. He just is. He's just doing it. And now what's your guys' excuse? Oh, you mad, bro? You mad, bro? Yeah, I'm mad. I'm fucking furious. I'm really fucking mad. And perhaps what makes me the most mad is that he's a fucking idiot. And Donald Trump is a fucking idiot. And Charlie Kirk is a fucking idiot. They're just racist. They can't back up anything they're saying. I might be more mad that, like, I thought if we became Nazi again, it would be because there were some smart Nazis. No, it's dipshits. It's all fucking dipshits here.
Okay.
Hey.
You want to check some comments? I think there were some memos and stuff that came through.
Yeah, go ahead. Walter says $2 train. Thank you, Walter. Amy Lynn said nursing homes will close in large numbers. Most bitter fruit. Oh, I got an Exmo here. Love you guys. A man and a boy are walking through a park together at night. The boy looks up at the man and says, "It's dark and I'm scared." The man looks down at the boy and says, "How do you think I feel? I have to walk back alone." Oh, there's Brian. That's Brian still going. Amy said, I think I read that one. Sully said, I was blessed with a 9-inch penis. I was blessed with a 9-inch penis. The priest is in jail now. Jesus Christ. Jesus. I was going to tell you a time traveler joke, but you didn't like it. Monique said, what's the word? Oh, I read that one already. Did I miss any of these? I don't think so. All right, moving on. Here's John Toon, exactly what I was talking about. So John Toon, he's one yesterday as they debated this bill. John Toon went on the House floor. Here's him with Fox News, and I can't figure out John Toon. I can't figure out if he doesn't know or if he just lies. But here's John Toon on Fox News.
You've got to have the goals in this bill are a safer America, a stronger America, and a more prosperous America. And to your point, Dana, the average working American working family, I can tell you in South Dakota, if an average family in South Dakota, if we don't pass this bill, will face a $2,500 tax increase at the end of this year.
This is so deceptive. Why will they, if we don't pass this bill, the average American will see a $2,500 tax increase. Why is that? Because the tax cuts that are currently there expire. Now that $2,500 number is bullshit because that includes like they're not taking middle class families. They're taking the tax cut that would expire for everybody, and they're saying like the average each American on average will get a $2,500 tax break. But it's like if there was somebody here in that had $10 million in their bank account, and then me. And I don't have any. I have not very much money in my bank account. But if you take somebody with $10 million in their bank account and me, and you say between the two of you, you guys have an average of $5 million each. No, yeah, I mean mathematically that's true, but like he's got all of it. So if you add in the tax break for all the 1%, then yes, the average American is gonna cost $2,500. But even then, let's just say that it's true that a middle class family in South Dakota is going to, if these tax cuts expire and we don't pass this bill, that their tax is going to go up $2,500. Extend their tax cut then. Why can't you just extend their tax cut and not give a tax break to billionaires? Do you see how they do this? Do you see how they just play with your emotions? Oh, well, if we don't do this, it's going to cost average Americans money. Yeah, but there's a different way, isn't there? There's a way that you could extend their tax cuts and not cut tax for the top 1%. Right? Yeah, you could do that, but you're not going to do that. So don't fucking tell us that it's about the middle class. One, the number that you used is including all the tax breaks from the billionaire, which 90% of the tax breaks goes to them anyways, to the 1%. But two, if you're worried about middle class families, write a fucking bill for them. Don't include a tax break for rich people. You don't have to have a tax break for rich people. Pass a tax break for middle class people and poor people and make the rich pay what they're paying. Why do they need a tax break? They've never been more wealthy than they are now. Why? Somebody explain to me why rich people need a tax break when this is the wealthiest they've ever been. In terms of like total wealth and the difference between their wealth and the middle class wealth. The tax gap or the wealth gap has never been higher. So why can't we just do a bill for the middle class? This is so fucking dishonest, the way that they frame this and the way that they try and scare you into supporting a bill that is going to fuck you in the ass. Why don't you ever ask your Republican senators, hey, why don't you just not cut taxes for rich people? They say this all the time. They're like, oh, Democrats just hate the rich. No, we don't understand why every time you write legislation, it benefits them and not anybody else. If you want to help working class families. Fucking help working class families. But don't lie to us and say it's about working class families when all of the benefits are going to the wealthiest among us. This is so deceptive, and you guys fall for this shit. How do you fall for this? You just hear it and you're like, oh, that sounds good.
That is the real world impact of this on people. Plus, you get the energy, the regulatory, the tax policy working in a way that creates economic growth, that creates better paying jobs, people's incomes go up, that enables them to do more for them and their families. So that's what this is about. It's about a growing, dynamic, expanding economy that makes America safer, stronger, and more
prosperous. Is this not true? Namaste said, I hit a hole in one once. Unfortunately, it was the wrong hole. Apparently, the women's bathroom doesn't count. Brian said, these Timu Nazis would have surely told the Germans where Anne Frank was hiding. Oh, yeah. Dude, they would have had Anne Frank Day. They would have just been like, Anne Frank would be like, what's her name? Greta Thunberg. Yeah, every one of you would have been like, Anne Frank's hiding up there. You all would have been thrilled. You would have been like, her parents shouldn't have been hiding her. You broke the law. They said that if you were Jewish, you had to come forward. All she had to do was follow the law. It's all she had to do. By the way, how many of these Jewish folks just followed the law and allowed themselves to be deported? How many of them turned themselves in? A lot. And they were just, you all would have cheerleaded that. Good. Yeah, follow the law. And if you saw like somebody being taken into custody by the brown shirts, and they had to be violently taken into custody, you guys would have been the ones to be like, you should just comply. Just comply. Yeah, I know they're hitting him, but he should have complied. Yeah, he's trying not to be taken to a concentration camp. Imagine that. Imagine he doesn't want to be taken to a concentration camp.
The magnitude large.
Let me get rid of that. Here is the CBO policy analysis. So looking at the total numbers from this bill, the CBO and independent health policy experts estimate that of the 800 billion is what the House wanted to cut in Medicaid, and for some reason the Senate bumped that up to 863 billion. They estimate that of those cuts over 10 years, 28 billion of that is projected to come from the provisions they've added specifically targeting fraud, waste, and abuse. That's by their own numbers. 3 to 4% of that is fraud, waste, and abuse. Do you understand how they lie to you? They're telling you this is about fraud, waste, and abuse. 3.2 to 4% of that is waste, fraud, and abuse. So the other 96% of that is going to take people who have every right to be on Medicaid and remove them from Medicaid. And the way that they do this is because they go in and they make it more difficult to apply, more difficult to keep Medicaid, and they add all these provisions that they know people will drop off. And they tell each other like, oh, well, if somebody really needs it, then they'll just do it. It's not true. Why should it be so fucking hard to get something that you're entitled to? Nearly half of the cuts are due to work requirements and more frequent eligibility checks, which result in millions losing coverage, not from rooting out improper payments or fraud. While some bill proponents claim that the cuts are about eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse like they just did there, every nonpartisan analysis of the bill's language show that the majority of these savings are achieved by making it harder for people to stay enrolled in Medicaid. That's it. They're just making it harder for you to be enrolled. They're making it harder for you to go get it. Let me get back to John Toon here because he said some other things that are really dishonest. Here we go.
The issue of the deficits. It is rich to hear Democrats all of a sudden concerned about debt and deficits. Really?
Really?
I mean, I've been here a long time, and I've not been involved in a single spending debate and fight in which Republicans were trying to spend less and Democrats were trying to spend more, with one exception, and that's national security. Democrats are always willing to cut defense.
And you guys are always willing to cut Medicare. Let's talk about, like, if you want to look at budget surpluses. So everything below this line here is deficit spending. So let's be clear. The last time we didn't have deficit spending was the year 2000. You can look. Obama took office in 2009, and the level of deficit spending got smaller. for 8 years under Obama, we got small, and we got close. We got relatively close to having like a balanced budget. Here comes Trump in 2017. It heads in the wrong direction in 2018. Wrong direction in 2019 after the Tax Cut and Job Acts. Obviously, this is COVID. And then here comes Biden. Biden takes it in 2021. This is all COVID related, so we can't count that. And this right here, this drop in the deficit spending, this is all still under Trump's tax plan. This idea that Republicans like to save and that they are fiscally responsible is a bold-faced lie. It is true that Democrats always ask for more spending. It's also true that Republicans ask for more spending. The difference between the two of them is Democrats attempt to pay for the spending with taxes, and Republicans say, "Fuck it, we'll just spend and we'll actually cut taxes." This is Trump. This is where we were when Trump took over. This is where we are now. This is where we are now. That's the results of the Trump tax cuts. We went from $0.78 trillion in deficit spending to $1.86 trillion in deficit spending. And then these were projected before the bill was passing. So we were working on going back up. But now, according to CBO, that deficit spending will increase. This number, instead of going up, will go down. So I just want to, he's lying. He's lying. Like, I don't know if he's dumb or lying. It's one or the other, but like, he's wrong. Whatever it is, he's wrong. Republicans always make deficit spending worse. Always. It's what they do. They tell you and they indoctrinate you every day that they are the ones that are fiscally responsible. And then when they're not fiscally responsible, you don't know because they don't fucking tell you. They lie. They show up and they just say every time, like, we're the ones that are fiscally responsible and the Democrats aren't. And you're like, okay, all right. But if you look at the data is very fucking clear. When we cut taxes like we did in 2017, deficit spending gets worse. And we're about to cut it even more. So that trajectory we're on is going to get worse. Why? So billionaires can have more money. That's it. That's the only benefit to this bill, is that billionaires will have more money. And why are all these dipshits saying this? Because I don't think they know. I don't even think that they're lying. I think that they're fucking lazy, just like all of you guys are lazy. There's nobody more intellectually lazy than Republicans. You guys don't look at any number. It's all gut. It's all feels. It's all common sense. I don't think he knows. I think that he has a bunch of people lining his pockets. He doesn't write these bills. His team is selected by his lobbyists. All of his advisors are just lobbyists, and they just keep telling him, "Oh, this is good. This is good for," and he's, "Okay, I'll just sign it." Hey, go on the floor and talk about how Democrats are fiscally irresponsible. Yeah, you got it. And here he is. Yes, Democrats are fiscally irresponsible. Not near as fiscally as irresponsible as Republicans, though, because both of them spend, but only one of them attempts to pay for it.
But never want to cut anywhere else. That's my experience. And I think it was borne out a couple of years ago when Democrats had then what we have now, which is unified control of the
GI Robot was right. I don't know what GI Robot is, Tony. Is that a movie?
Government. They had House, Senate, and White House. And so they had an opportunity to use reconciliation, which they did twice. One of the bills cost $2 trillion. The other bill cost $1 trillion. And it was all spending. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a fundamental.
And this bill is going to cost $5 trillion. Like, are we fucking serious here? Can you believe the Democrats, by the way, bipartisan, can you believe they passed a bill with $1 trillion in spending and one with $2 trillion in spending? How crazy are they? Yours is $5 trillion. Yours is 5. You could take both of theirs together and it's 60% of what you're advocating for. Yeah, I just don't think people, I honestly, like, maybe I have too much faith in humanity. I don't think people can just lie like this easily. I think he doesn't know. I think that he's lazy. I think that he's like most of you Republicans. You're intellectually incredibly lazy. You're not checking any facts. You just hear whatever you hear that you like, you just roll with. That's a crazy 2 bills. with $3 trillion in spending. You're doing 5, brother. 5 trillion. That's way more.
Difference between us here.
No, I don't want tax cuts, not for the wealthy. If this bill just and you're doing the same shit that he did, you could give tax cuts to middle class and poor people, and you don't have to cut taxes for rich people. Stop allowing yourself to be a dipshit. You don't have to cut taxes for fucking everybody. Cut the taxes for the people who need it. Who's hurting right now? Is it billionaires? No, they've never been more rich. The 1% in this country has never been better off. They don't need help. Why are we giving handouts to the richest among us? It makes no fucking sense. If we're going to do handouts, if we're going to do tax cuts, give it to the people who need it. How in the fuck is a billionaire handout going to help people start a business? In fact, cutting taxes for billionaires is going to allow them, let's just say that they're going to invest capital. What are they going to do? Are they going to start new businesses with new ideas? No, they're going to buy up businesses. They're going to accumulate more assets. They're going to make themselves more of a monolith. They're going to create more monopolies. We should not be freeing we should not be freeing up money for the people who are destroying America, destroying the American middle class. They're buying up everything. They're buying up houses that they just let them sit there vacant. They want all of you to be renters. That's all of their goal. Every capitalist goal is to get as much of the money into their pockets as possible. And you're making it easier for them and harder for the middle class. At what point are we going to say enough is enough for these billionaires? They've never in the history of our country has the gap ever been wider. And you're going to cut their taxes? And then so what? You want everybody to pay more taxes? No, I want them to pay more taxes because we've been giving them handouts. Every one of us pays a higher effective rate than Elon Musk. Every one of us pays a higher effective rate than Jeff Bezos. How the fuck does that make any sense? How does it make sense that their rate would be lower than mine? It makes no sense.
And I understand that. We have different views about the role of government. Democrats like government. And one of the things we know about government is when you send money to Washington, money is power.
True.
And when you send money to Washington from the American taxpayers, that means Washington has more power. It has more control. And Republicans fundamentally have believed that it's better if you allow the American people to keep their own money.
This is a weird argument. If you send the government more money, they have more power. Okay, fair enough. So if you're going to make the argument, like if we tax people less, the government has less power, except for their increasing spending. So now what he's up here arguing is, if you give us more money, we're going to take more power. And if you don't give us more money, we're just going to take that power anyways, but it's going to be debt. All of these arguments would make sense if they were cutting spending. Right? Like, and I think this is the part where I get frustrated that you guys, for some reason, separate these two things. You're like, we like tax cuts. I believe in tax cuts. You can't believe in tax cuts if you're going to increase spending. All of these arguments make perfect sense if they're decreasing spending, but they're increasing spending. They're asking for more money. They're increasing our debt limit. They're going to drive us into more debt. None of this makes any fucking sense. And this is the leader of the Senate. This is your guy. This is basic math. That's an insane thing to say, that like, if you give us more money, we have more power. Okay, we won't give you more money. Okay, we're going to take the power anyways. But now there's debt. What's the difference? Take more money then. Take more money and pay for the debt. At the very least, if you're going to take the power anyways, we'd rather not have debt. So they're just going to take the power and give their friends a tax break.
That you distribute power out of Washington, D.C., back to state and local governments who are closer to the people and can make better decisions that are more informed by what's actually happened in their individual states. And so when we use reconciliation to keep taxes low, and by the way, that's all we are doing here is extending current tax policy. We are preventing a...
No, it's not. You're cutting the corporate rate from 21% to 15%. You're adding carve-outs. Weird carve-outs. That's a lie, too. How the fuck do you guys let these folks get away with that? They're not extending the TCJA. This is a new bill. If all they were doing is extending the TCJA, there would be no need for a new bill. You are cutting taxes. Why do you guys let him lie like this? This is the leader of your party in the Senate. How can you let him get away with that? And how are the other members of the Senate not like, fuck, this guy's lying? The reason they can lie to you is you let them. And you can talk about bipartisanship all you want. You can be, oh, Democrats lie too. Yeah, I'll call it out. And I do call it out. You guys don't. You just love being lied to, I think.
Over a $4 trillion tax increase on the American people. And when you vote against this, that's what you'd be voting for. Now, a good example of this spending issue was the 2011 Budget Control Act, in which, authored by a number of people, including Senator McConnell, they created a super committee, equally represented on both sides of the aisle. And they met for a long time to try and come up with some ways that we could come up with ways to reform entitlement programs. And, of course, what happened? They deadlocked, because every Democrat voted against it, every Republican voted for it, and it even included some revenue increases, which is something Democrats are always for. So getting up...
So you guys wanted to cut... Yeah, you guys wanted to cut Medicaid. And Democrats didn't. Nobody's surprised by that? Why? Like, we'll fund the war machine every year. Every year we have to increase spending for defense. Every year, and they never pass an audit, and they give out handouts to all their friends. There is no department in our government more corrupt and more wasteful than the Department of Defense, and yet we won't audit them, and we continuously give them more money every single year. It is the most corrupt part of our government, and Republicans insist on funding it more. And then if you look at actual Medicare fraud, if you look at Medicaid fraud, if you look at SNAP fraud, or if you look at Social Security fraud, it's not significant. And by the way, the two people that have, like, the biggest Medicare fraud in the history of our country until this year was perpetrated by Rick Scott's company, and you guys elected him to be a senator. He stole more than anybody in history from the government, and you elected him to be your fucking senator. And now somebody in Texas now has beat that record. Guess what? Also a Republican donor. You'll always steal from poor people, but you will never steal from the corrupt Department of Defense. We gotta kill more children all over the world. We gotta bomb more countries all over the world. How are we gonna pay for it? I have an idea. Why don't we steal from poor people? Republicans are like, yeah, let's do that. Nothing that you claim that you stand for is true. You don't stand for any of these things that you claim that you stand for. I don't know how you're not. I honestly don't know how you're not more embarrassed about that. I would be extremely embarrassed. Here is. I showed you that. That was the deficit spending. Did I do this one? I got through all those. And then, even though he's one more thing that you're going to hear a lot from Republicans. Republicans consistently are talking about, and for some reason they lie about this too. They claim that under Bill Clinton that we did Medicaid reform. It was called it was entitlement reform, and they claim that it was for some reason it was Medicaid reform. It absolutely wasn't. In that reform. Where's my number here? 1996 is when that was. It was called I think it was welfare entitlement reform. What that did is it created the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program, TANF, TANF. It imposed time limits and required recipients to work after 2 years on benefits. Republicans are going out and they're lying and telling you that really this was a Democratic idea. It wasn't. It was for a new program that was temporary assistance for needy families, and after 2 years of being on it, it required you to get to work. During those 2 years, you were supposed to be looking for a job, and here's what it proved: there was no increase in people going and getting jobs. In fact, after decades of research and decades of data, what we know is that while the people on welfare dropped, there's no evidence that the work requirements increased long-term employment. In fact, Most of the people who left that program just remained poor. And they lost access due to red tape, regulations, and paperwork. Many of those people could not work. But then because it was difficult and it was hard for them to understand, they wind up falling off of assistance. And so the GOP, naturally, they go on CNN on this panel and they just repeat the same shit. They just go on there and they say, oh, this welfare reform was actually a Democratic idea, and watch them get debunked right to their face. And then they will go on and they will repeat the same talk. They literally have a list of talking points that have been given to them by the GOP. And every time they're debunked, they come back the next day with the same talking points. You guys do it in the chat too, every day. Every day you guys say the same thing to me. We'll debunk it, and you're back tomorrow saying the same thing. Amy Lynn said, in Trump's executive order makes it so they don't prioritize white-collar crime investigation. That's true. Not only do they not investigate white-collar crime, but white-collar crime investigations that are already underway, they're just dropping them. So not only are these billionaires getting a tax break, they don't have to follow the law anymore. They could just scam you.
Courage potion after he decided to not run for re-election.
I have to say, I have to correct multiple things that were just wrong in what you said. Number one, Bill Clinton specifically opposed work requirements for Medicaid and health care.
Correct.
He supported for welfare. He vetoed a bill that had work requirements in Medicaid.
Correct.
So just get your facts straight right there. You cannot hang this monstrosity on any Democrat.
I'm going to ask the Republicans. So somebody says stop living off taxpayers. What do you recommend for people who can't work? What do you recommend, Frank Henderson, for people that don't have the ability to work? How should they pay for food? How should they pay for their medical bills? How should they pay for doctor visits? How should they pay for their rent if they can't work? If they're disabled and they cannot work? What do you recommend, Frank? Frank, shut the fuck up. You're here all the time. You're not blocked. I'm talking to you right now. That's crazy. You said one thing and then you claimed I'm talking to you, Frank. You're not blocked. Stop being a bitch. What do you recommend? What do you recommend for people who cannot work? Huh, Frank? Apply for food. That's taxpayers, dipshit. You said don't live off of taxpayers. Disability, taxpayers. Okay, well, that's what we're talking about here, Frank. This is the problem. They've done the research on this. 3 to 4% of the people with these work requirements were actually eligible to, or actually could work. 96% of these people are of the people that are going to be cut from Medicaid. 96% of them fulfill the requirements to be on Medicaid, and you're going to cut them for that 4%, for the 4% of people who aren't supposed to be on Medicaid. When what you could do is you could just come up with actual policies that go after those people. But the reason that you have to cut all of these people, Frank, is because Republicans gave a tax break in this bill to billionaires, and they had to figure out a way to pay for it. Because no matter what they say about revenues, when you cut taxes, that's less revenue. You have to figure out a way to make up that revenue. One of the ways that they decided to make up revenue was through $800 billion in tax cuts to Medicaid, despite the fact that they know only 3 to 4% of those people that are going to be cut actually don't meet the requirements. So they're just going to make it harder for people who are disabled or can't work to get Medicaid. See, Frank, see how this shit falls apart? Your talking point is dumb. Your talking point applies to 3 to 4%, and you're taking it out on 96%. You are heavily influenced by propaganda. I just showed you the data. And Republicans have been asked for this data over and over. Can you show us, please, the millions, 1.5 million people who are here illegally who are on Medicaid? And they said, we don't have any evidence of that. We just picked that number. We just made it up. They have no evidence of that number. But you are a person, Frank, who not only has decided to believe lies, but you're also a perpetual victim. You're kind of a little bitch yourself. You came in here to complain about shit and claimed that you were blocked while you were talking. You're just a perpetual victim. This is what the GOP has become. You guys, you just find something to complain about, and you think that like complaining makes you somehow smarter. This is all my Republican friends that I golf with. We sit around and we have beers after, and they all talk about shit that like is very complex and complicated. And they'll say things like, why don't we just build a wall with a moat? That'll stop illegal immigration. Oh, 90% of them are on visa overstays. It doesn't fix the problem. But then they jack each other up. They're like, yeah, dude, common sense. I don't get these politicians, man. These politicians don't get it. Just common sense. Build a wall. Put a moat out there. Okay, that fixes almost none of it. That's who you are, Frank. You're just a dipshit. You just believe shit that people say. And when confronted with data, you don't change your opinion. You're gonna talk to your friends later. You're gonna be on Facebook, talking shit to your neighbor. It's just vote, just common sense. Vote all Democrats out of office and we're doomed. And just look at this fool. See how you don't have anything to say? See how you're fucking stupid, Frank? You see that? Democrats have ruined our country. See how you're a dipshit, Frank? Say something. Keep going, Frank. Let's keep reading your dumbassery. What's your 20 million over the border? What's the next talk point, guys? Let's watch Frank. Get them all out, Frank. Get them all out, Frank. 20 million. One more, Frank. Keep going, Frank. Tell us more. Read more. 20 million. Yeah, one more time, Frank. 20 million. Again, Frank. Keep it coming. Keep it coming, Frank. You gonna say 20 million again? 20 million. All right, now you're blocked because you're a dipshit.
And second of all, in every state that has used work requirements, 40% of people have lost their health care. That's children.
Who feeding them? Taxpayers. Who feeding them? Taxpayers. Yeah, keep it going, Frank. Freeloader. Keep it going, Frank. Keep it going, Frank. Does this address anything that I said that 96% of these people meet the requirements? No, but I don't know anything, so I'm just going to keep shouting shit into the void. Keep it going, Frank. Trump is the GOAT. Yeah, there you go, Frank. That's pretty fucking good. There you go, Frank. Lot of substance out of you. Lot of substance. I'm giving you the attention. You wanted my attention, Frank. You showed up and you acted like a little bitch. Well, you guys are going to ban me. LOL, you're a fool. Yeah, there you go, Frank. You got everybody's attention. There's 1,100 people here, Frank. You have every opportunity to set us straight, Frank. Give us that information, Frank. Obviously, the problem is people just aren't listening to you, Frank. You've got so many good things to say, Frank. Tell. Keep it going, Frank. Are you running out of words? Trump 2028. Yeah, there you go, Frank. There you go. Corn Pop, shut the fuck up. You're here every day. You know how I act.
Children have.
And by the way, can you imagine this conversation in person? Can you imagine that if this conversation happened in person, nobody would think I was crazy. Hey, Frank, what should we do about the people on Medicaid that are getting cut that fulfill the requirements? Trump 2028. Yeah, but what should we do about the people who are going to get their Medicaid cut, who fulfill all the requirements? We should get Democrats out of office. Democrats are ruining this country. Trump 2028. Which one of us would be the crazy person in public? Everybody be doing the same thing that we're doing now. Everybody be laughing at Frank. They'd be like, dude, Frank, are you hearing the words? I would absolutely do that. Vote all Democrats out of office, and are we doomed? We are doomed. There we go, Frank. Vote all Democrats out of office, we are doomed. I would absolutely call Frank a dipshit in person.
Lost their health care. Parents have lost their health care.
All right, but let's mute Frank for like 30 minutes. I'm tired of Frank.
It is outrageous to say that no one will lose their health care when you know Republicans like Tillis are saying that. And the fact is that we can all talk about waste, fraud, and abuse, but like you're talking about in this third, fourth, fifth year of this, it's going to be 20% of the Medicaid program, $1 out of $5 in Medicaid. And that is why, again, it's not liberals who are talking about it. It's the Louisiana Hospital Association.
Yes.
It's the Iowa Hospital Association. It's the Maine Hospital Association. It's doctors. It's nurses.
Well, they're
it's
primarily
people
upset
in
about the
healthcare.
provider tax portion of it.
No,
the
they're
provider
upset
tax
about
portion of
both.
this, which is a
I'm
way for
sorry.
blue
They're
states to
upset
pad
about both
their
of it because
Medicaid
they
enrollment in
know
order
Medicaid
to
dollars.
double federal
I'm
dollars.
sorry, Medicaid dollars pay for nursing homes.
Particularly-
Medicaid dollars pay for hospitals, children's hospitals,
particularly
the entire healthcare
particularly
system.
in rural areas.
Yeah, the hospitals are warning us. The rural hospitals are warning us. They're saying that we won't be able to provide care for anybody. We're going to have to shut down. And Republicans are like, yo, well, you got to give those rich people Another tax break. Katie said progressives will feed 100 people in case one of them is hungry. Conservatives will starve 100 just in case one of them is gaming the system. That's a perfect encapsulation of the difference between the right and the left. Perfect encapsulation. You guys will destroy perfectly good programs, perfectly good systems because one person scams it, and you will just fuck people over. And not because you really believe it, but because your overlords tell you to. And all that money that you saved by not feeding starving people, great news. It's going to go to a rich person who won't do anything with that money but accumulate more money. Amy Lynn said, what do you recommend for red states? Get them off the blue states' teeth. Also, Trump's executive order makes it so they don't prioritize white-collar crime investigation. I think I read that one already. Do we have any others? Bradley said, yesterday I was washing the car with my son. He said, Dad, can't you just use a sponge? Alex says, what does a 14-year-old pregnant girl and the fetus have in common? Both think, uh-oh, mom's going to kill us. Yikes. Yikes. Did I get all those ones? Oh, that's what GI Robot is, Jen? I didn't know what GI Robot was. Let me check here. As a reminder tonight, we are we're about done for today, but we do have date night with Admir later tonight, so you guys can catch us on TikTok debating tonight. Let me finish up on the big beautiful bill, and then we'll get out of here. Then I just want to show this last clip of Tom Tillis. It's always a story for Republicans. It's never reality, and I want to show you just like how far removed these folks are from reality. I don't remember. This is Angela also Brooks. She's just talking about the cuts, and then Tom Tillis comes in here at the end.
Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. Well, Senator Kennedy talked about Scooter, and Senator Scott talked about Bubba. I want to talk about Jelly Roll. Turns out in a committee hearing with Jelly Roll.
Make sure we got about 10 minutes. If anybody, just a reminder, best joke of the day. For a $5 donation, you send in your best joke, and tomorrow we'll announce the winner of best joke of the day, and you get to pick anything out of our merch shop. So we got about 5 more minutes to get those in. If you didn't know that was going on, or if you want to get any last jokes in, and then we'll get out of here.
The country music rock singer, he grew up in Antioch, Tennessee. And I said, you remember Countryside Village? He said, well, they call it Countryside Meadow. I said, I used to live there. He said, I did too. It's a trailer park that's still standing on Richards Road in Nashville, Tennessee. Back in the late 70s and early 80s, I was living in that trailer park, and I was living with a family on the economic bubble. And I remember back then when President Reagan came in and he offered tax cuts, that everybody characterized those tax cuts as cuts for the rich. But let me tell you all, when we saw those tax cuts implemented, Tom Tillis and Jelly Roll ended up finding opportunities beyond our wildest imagination.
All right. Well, first of all, Jelly Roll wound up being like a drug addict for years. And when he says that, like, at the time, people said that those tax breaks from the Reagan tax cuts would ultimately benefit the rich. We now know the data on that. Like, it was a guess at the time. There were a lot of people who said, "Oh, this isn't going to help the poor and the middle class." The top under Reagan, the top marginal tax individual tax rate was slashed from 70% to 28%. And the corporate tax rate dropped from 46% to 34%. The top 1% of household received the largest share of the benefits. After the 91 and 86 tax cuts, the richest Americans saw their average tax bill drop by, on average, $200,000. Middle-class taxpayers received much smaller tax cuts, somewhere around $603. So IRS data, if you look at it, shows that taxpayers earning $500,000 to $1 million received an average tax cut of $73,000. Those earning $40,000 or less received a tax cut of $603. So the cute fucking story, Tom Tillis. Cute fucking story. Cute revisionist history. They said it would go to the top tax bracket, and, well, look at me. I was success. Well, it did. The richest 2% were the only ones subject to the 70% top tax rate before the cuts, meaning that the biggest tax reductions were targeted at that group. Middle and lower income groups did receive modest tax cuts. Most saw little or no change. After all was said and done, Most of them saw almost no change. Some of them, especially the poorest among us, even saw a tax increase because they lost access to deductions. The overall income tax burden for the middle class declined, but the shift in tax policy overwhelmingly favored the wealthy. That is based on decades of data. There's nobody. Public Integrity, Cato Institute. You can look at the Heritage Foundation. They all will tell you the exact same story. There is Brookings. They all tell the same story. It overwhelmingly benefited the rich. So, cute story, Tom Tillis, about Jelly Roll, but your story's bullshit and not backed by data.
When we saw those tax cuts implemented, Tom Tillis and Jelly Roll ended up finding opportunities beyond our wildest imagination. So it turns out that those so-called tax cuts for the rich back then lifted me out of that situation into a high-tech career and now standing here before you in the U.S. Senate.
And Jelly Roll made Jelly Roll made mixtapes, and he sold them on the streets. And then eventually he got enough of a following that he could sell his music. And you had people who through iTunes, Spotify, then his music became more readily available. But Jelly Roll really made it when he switched from rap to country. And then he got really famous. It had nothing to do with Ronald Reagan's tax breaks. Had nothing to do with tax breaks at all. In fact, it just mostly had to do with the fact that Jelly Roll's a very talented musician and he worked his ass off. Had nothing to do with taxes. Tom Tillis just literally, this whole story is we both grew up in a trailer park and Ronald Reagan saved us, even though there's no evidence that any of this happened. I'm just telling you a cute story here. Jelly Roll was saved by Christ. No, he wasn't. He was saved by money. Money saved him. That's what happened. Money saved him.
This and several other amendments are amendments that are standing in the way of other people getting lifted out of that same trailer park. So, ladies and gentlemen, on our side of the aisle and those over there, I hope you will join us. Shout loudly no. Thank you, Mr. President.
They're so full of shit. Every last one of them. Congratulations, Republicans. This will be the single biggest contributor to the debt in the history of our country. This will accelerate wealth disparity. People will lose their jobs. People will lose their houses. You will see an increase in poverty. And unfortunately, every percentage that you increase below the poverty line, homelessness goes up, which means crime goes up. And the response to that from this administration, unfortunately, is that they will be more heavy-handed on crime. If you know anything about Republicans historically, they cut taxes for rich people. They exacerbate wealth inequality. Crime goes up. They arrest a bunch of people. They throw them in prison. They throw them in private prisons. A bunch of people get rich off of feeding prisoners. And that's how we float our economy. The United States is number 1 in the world. Maybe El Salvador now. Number 2 in the world of imprisoning its own constituents. When people are poor, they commit crime. It's the story through history. It's literally the story of Robin Hood here. That is the story of Robin Hood. Why was Robin Hood a criminal? Because the richest people were hoarding all the wealth. And then when Robin Hood and his friends stole to keep people alive, to feed each other, they were treated as criminals. They were thrown in jail. They were attacked by the rich. Why? Because the rich didn't want to share their money. So rather than recognizing that increasing wealth inequality increases crime, what you do instead is you demonize poor people. And this is what's about to happen. You're going to see an increase, and you're going to see an increase of people being thrown in jail. And Republicans will brag about that and be like, we're cleaning up the streets. You're causing this problem. Look at the rate of homelessness. Let's look at the rate of homelessness by year. We look at historical trends. Look here. You started to see, ironically, look at this increase in homelessness. When did it kick off? 2017. When did the tax cuts kick in? 2017. Wealth inequality drives homelessness. Poverty drives crime, not the other way around. And Republicans are going to tell you that all of these poor people are committing crimes, not because they're poor, but because they're bad people. This will increase gang violence. This will increase people turning to cartels. This will increase organized crime. This will increase financial crime. When people are desperate and people want money, they commit more crime. And like all things that Republicans do, it's just very similar to what we just saw in Iran. Iran and Israel are not at war. Israel bombs Iran. The United States claims Iran is the bad guy. We bomb Iran. Iran fires back. We get a ceasefire, and then Trump claims victory. Look at this problem that we solved. You created it. You created the problem. Why do you think all of these private prisons donate so much money to Republicans? Why do you think that is? Because it will fill their prisons. We'll fill them with poor people. And frankly, like if it gets down to the point, like would I steal to feed my daughter? Fuck yes, I would. Dog just opened the door. I would absolutely commit crimes to keep my child alive. And you're going to put a lot of Americans in that position. This is a sad day for America. It's a sad day for Republicans. It's a sad day for Democrats. I hope the midterms are an absolute blowout. We'll be back tonight debating on TikTok with Admir. It's date night over at Admir. Jamie said, great show. Let me make sure to get any more comments that came in. I think that's Jen 5:45, right? Pacific time is when we go with Admir.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll see you over there 5:45 Pacific time. We'll also be streaming it here on YouTube. But just remember, like I won't see the chat in on YouTube, so I'm sorry. I'll try and keep the YouTube chat up so I can respond to it. Jen, will you remind me to pull the YouTube chat up while I'm doing that? I'll try not to ignore you too.
Sure. With the 4 people that come in there and cry.
Oh, is that all it is? All right, I'm not going to the YouTube chat.
There's not very many people. To be honest, I don't know if I'm going to engage the chat. I just get more irritated than anything. So.
All right, so you'll catch us over on Admir's Live at 5:45 tonight. Reminder that if you're here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Saturday night we have a debate over on Raging Tomatoes YouTube channel. That will be with Steven, who you might know from the Jubilee episode. He's the guy that looks like an accountant. We're going to be discussing immigration. We will be streaming it on YouTube and Twitch, but that will be subscriber only. So if you're not subscribed, make sure that you're subscribed on any level on YouTube. Actually, I guess we'll have TikTok access back there too. So YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch will be live there. If you're not a paid subscriber, you can watch it free over on Raging Tomato, but I'll just be engaging more with our chat over here. Other than that, we've said it a million times, but we have merch in our bio. If you want to join the Discord, you can reach out to any of our moderators. You can join the Discord. Catch us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch. Do we have a raid set up by chance? Do you know?
Twitch went down 45 minutes ago.
Perfect. I'm up to date. All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care of yourself. Stay cute and cool, and have a great summer.